Chapter 1611, Ziwei's Unease. Chapter 1611, Ziwei's Unease. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Heavenly Court. Countless halls shined with splendor. Inside a hall, as Fairy Ziwei slowly opened her eyes, a purple light flashed past her beautiful eyes. She frowned slightly, her tone was free and natural as she mumbled, "Fixed space immortal Gu has self-detonated." After Fairy Ziwei grasped Star Constellation chessboard, she had become one of the top 3 Wisdom Path great experts of the present Gu immortal world. This time, she sent Lu Hao and Jun Shenguang to deal with Fang Yuan. How could she not have prepared for Fang Yuan's great thief ghost hand? Becoming wiser through learning from mistakes, because Fang Yuan had stolen fixed immortal travel from Feng Jiugu right under Fairy Ziwei's eyes, she was not going to commit the same mistake twice. Yuan Qiongdu, Fairy Ziwei contacted this newly recruited rank 8 Gu immortal. "Lady Ziwei." Yuan Qiongdu immediately responded. "Go refine fixed space Gu." Fairy Ziwei instructed lightly. Yuan Qiongdu's expression immediately changed. It was him who had added the refinement path Dao marks on fixed space Gu and the others, thus he knew the approximate situation. Fairy Ziwei's words no doubt meant that Lu Hao's situation was likely to be bad. Lu Hao and Yuan Qiongdu came from the same ancient sect. Yuan Qiongdu hesitated a moment before asking, "Lady Ziwei, Lu Hao." "He is most likely taken captive by Fang Yuan, but I would rather he was killed by Fang Yuan." Fairy Ziwei's tone was indifferent, astonishingly similar to Fang Yuan's cruel extortion of southern border righteous path. Yuan Qiongdu was stunned, before quickly realizing. Fairy Ziwei's words did not mean she hated Lu Hao and wanted Lu Hao to die. Instead, if Lu Hao was taken captive, it meant that other southern border immortals were also taken captive by Fang Yuan. But if Fang Yuan killed Lu Hao, the other southern border immortals would likely not be an exception. With this, there would be a deep-seated hatred between Fang Yuan and the southern border righteous path. There would be no possibility for them to compromise or cooperate. Southern border had suffered disastrous losses in the Battle of Tian Mountain as well as the Battle of Dream Realm. If their elite team was killed by Fang Yuan, their foundation would be truly damaged. Their overall strength would fall to the bottom among the 5 regions. When the 5 regions' chaotic war starts and regional walls disappear, Central Continent would be able to attack Southern Border first. Southern Border could be devoured by Central Continent easily, and with 2 regions, Central Continent's originally high strength would immediately surpass the remaining 3 regions, gaining a huge dominance. The situation would also change. They would not be in an awkward situation of being besieged by 4 regions. Compared to this grand situation, how significant was the sacrifice of a mere rank 7 Gu immortal like Lu Hao? After realizing this, Yuan Qiongdu's shock vanished as he left. "I will go refine fixed space Gu." Yuan Qiongdu had already made sufficient preparations. He was a rank 8 Gu immortal, and with the help of Heavenly Court's grand refinement path formation, it was practically a certain matter for him to refine fixed space immortal Gu and the other Gu. However, there was still uneasiness in Fairy Ziwei's heart. For Wisdom Path Gu immortals, such a feeling was like a premonition. Wisdom Path had 3 elements: thoughts, wills, and emotions. To other Gu immortals, the rise, change, and disappearance of emotions may be their own joy, anger, sorrow, or pleasure. But it had a different meaning for Wisdom Path Gu immortals. Did I miscalculate? What is it that is making me feel this uneasy? Fairy Ziwei's mind was heavy, as she began to deduce while holding Star Constellation chessboard. After a good while, she slowly opened her eyes, revealing a trace of doubt. The result of the deduction was the same as before. Fang Yuan could successfully ambush them because of the crucial starting step that let him lure southern border immortals into his time path formation. This is not his own accomplishment. It is a time path formation Shadow sect had set up long ago near the tributary of the River of Time using natural Dao marks. Fang Yuan had formation path grandmaster attainment. He had to use immortal materials to set up immortal formations. Only when one reaches formation path great grandmaster level, could they set up an immortal formation using just the natural Dao marks in the outside world? Shadow Sect naturally did not lack such experts, and had long ago set up a time path formation near the tributary of the River of Time, while heavily concealing this tributary of the River of Time. Although such an immortal formation created from natural Dao marks did not need to use immortal Gu, it had its disadvantages. The main disadvantage was that according to the composition and arrangement of the natural Dao marks and other specific circumstances, the time path formations that could be set up were different. When Gu immortals set up this kind of immortal formation, not only did they need to have their own ideas, but also think according to the local condition. Time path Dao marks of another area would not be able to set up such extremely concealed time path formation. Thus, Fang Yuan could not replicate the terrifying success of ambushing the southern border immortals. Fairy Ziwei had paid a huge price along with crucial clues from Jun Shengguang to make this deduction. Without the immortal formation's confinement, even if Fang Yuan detonated pure dream reality seeker physique bodies, the dream realm's expansion speed is not fast, the Gu immortals could easily escape. Were he to use an immortal battlefield, unless it is a dream path battlefield, battlefields of other paths would be the first to be corroded by the dream realm and crumble apart. So Fang Yuan's dream realm battle tactic does not possess much threat. So why am I feeling uneasy? Could it be spectral soul? Thinking of this, Fairy Ziwei left the hall and moved towards a certain area of Heavenly Court. Spectral soul was here. Dang Hun Mountain's self-detonation had given him the opportunity to use the soul path Dao marks to recover and resist. But Heavenly Court had never lacked methods. When Fairy Ziwei reached this place, a grand immortal formation had already been constructed and was operating while producing a buzzing noise. This enormous immortal formation was like a huge mill that constantly destroyed the soul path Dao marks here. Spectral soul, you are still thinking of putting up a resistance. A pity for you, the soul path Dao marks beside you are going to be completely ground down in another 3 days. Your action is only a brief dying struggle. Fairy Ziwei entered the formation and sneered at Spectral Soul. Spectral Soul was like a stone, giving no response. Purple light erupted in Fairy Ziwei's eyes and the star constellation chessboard in her hands also let out a dense blue light that constantly scanned the whole immortal formation as well as Spectral Soul. After inspecting a few times, she was sure there was nothing odd about Spectral Soul and that he had no concealed methods to resist. There is no issue with Spectral Soul, looks like my unease did not come from here. Then where did it come from? Wait, could it be? Fairy Ziwei's expression suddenly changed when she left the immortal formation, as she thought of a person. She immediately set off with no hesitation, personally moving out of Heavenly Court and arriving in a certain nameless valley in central continent. The valley was lush and green, and had a waterfall. Duke Long had built a cavern beside the waterfall, wholeheartedly teaching and guarding Feng Jin Huang. Feng Jin Huang. If someone could make Fairy Ziwei feel unease, it was probably this great dream seed. The waterfall crashed down, roaring and creating dense fog. A dense dream realm could be seen before which young Feng Jin Huang was sitting with closed eyes on a giant rock. Her skin was white as snow, her demeanor graceful and dignified. A Gu immortal whose aura was extremely constrained, with a pair of spiral dragon horns on his forehead and a well-built body, was quietly standing to the side like a giant pillar, observing Feng Jin Huang. Senior Duke Long. Fairy Ziwei quietly approached and bowed in greeting. Duke Long nodded, raising his hand slightly, signaling Fairy Ziwei to maintain silence. At the next moment, Feng Jin Huang suddenly opened her eyes, letting out a soft sound like the cry of a baby phoenix. She then lightly pointed her index finger at the dream realm and activated a killer move. Whoosh! A soft sound resonated, white light shot into the dream realm. The dream realm suddenly froze, then with a shattering noise, like the breaking of a mirror, it completely crumbled apart, scattering everywhere. I have succeeded in learning Break Dream. Feng Jin Huang raised her arms, exclaiming in joy. Duke Long nodded with a satisfied expression. Fairy Ziwei's eyes involuntarily revealed her shock, Feng Jinhuang's progress in Dream Path was far beyond her expectation. Any killer moves of old paths, even if they were of rank 9 levels, or even if they were rank 9 immortal Gu houses, were like stones thrown into a sea in a dream realm, unable to do anything to the dream realm. But who could have thought Feng Jinhuang's mortal killer move, Break Dream, could actually be effective against the dream realm? Huang Heir, you have trained for almost a day now, go take a rest. Duke Long looked at Feng Jinhuang amiably. There was no trace of his terrifying might when he had rampaged through the battlefield and captured Spectral Soul. Yes, Master. Feng Jinhuang knew Fairy Ziwei and Duke Long had things to discuss, so she obediently left. After Feng Jinhuang had gone far, and when only he and Fairy Ziwei remained, Duke Long spoke, "What is the reason for you to come here?" "It is just that I have been feeling uneasy, but cannot find the reason," Fairy Ziwei said, truthfully. Duke Long immediately frowned. "With your wisdom path attainment, a feeling of unease is a huge matter, but you cannot find its cause?" Fairy Ziwei nodded. "I have deduced Fang Yuan and also checked Spectral Soul, but still could not let go of this unease, so I came here to take a look." Duke Long smiled. "Since you're here, what do you think of this place?" Fairy Ziwei also smiled. "I was too anxious. With Senior Duke Long's teachings, Feng Jinhuang's progress is really beyond imagination." Duke Long shook his head. "I don't have any foundation in Dream Path. Huang Heir was able to have such accomplishments all because of her own aptitude and intelligence. I am only looking after her, to prevent any accidents in her cultivation." Fairy Ziwei's eyes brightened, praising sincerely, "This child is truly the hope for Heavenly Court to unite the 5 regions." Duke Long nodded his head as light flickered in his eyes. "I know where your unease is coming from." "Oh. Please clear up my doubts, Lord Duke Long." "My wisdom path attainment is immeasurably lower than yours, but there are only a few possible sources of unease after all. Since it is not Fang Yuan, Spectral Soul, or Feng Jinhuang, then that only leaves Red Lotus." "Red Lotus Demon Venerable." Fairy Ziwei's eyes immediately brightened. "You are talking about Red Lotus True Inheritance?" 3 Demon Venerables attacked Heavenly Court, but only Red Lotus Demon Venerable almost destroyed Fate Immortal Gu. Even outsiders could realize the unresigned nature of Red Lotus. Possibly, through the true inheritance left behind by Red Lotus Demon Venerable, he wanted the inheritor to completely destroy Fate Immortal Gu. "How is the progress in searching for Red Lotus True Inheritance?" Duke Long asked. Fairy Ziwei said, "Present and past pavilion has been in the River of Time all along. As long as Fang Yuan enters, we will definitely know. Eternal Yacht is almost completed and will enter the River of Time after a few days to search for Red Lotus True Inheritance together with present and past pavilion. I still plan to construct 3 Autumn Yellow Crane Platform and Shark Flow Lever. With these 4 Time Path Immortal Gu houses, no matter how much Fang Yuan has grown, he will completely fail in front of this impassable barrier. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible." Chapter 1612, Successfully Constructing the Year Essence Pool. Chapter 1612, Successfully Constructing the Year Essence Pool. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. A dreamlike wisp of dawn rays, bright and fresh, was constantly rotating above the palm of Fang Yuan's time path clone. In Fang Yuan's surroundings, Xianxia and the rest were already prepared and ready. "Let's start," Fang Yuan said. Auras of goo worms suddenly rose from his body as his immortal essence expended rapidly. The rank 8 immortal material spiral dawn light suddenly exploded, covering the surrounding 100 li. Almost at the same time, Xianxia and the rest set to work, confining this spiral dawn light and not letting it spread farther. Spiral dawn light was extremely stretchable. It expanded over the surroundings. Although its luster was no longer as transparent as a water wave, Fang Yuan could still feel the slight wind from the spirals at the central area. Fang Yuan saw that the Shadow Sect Immortals had already stabilized the situation, and took out the second portion of spiral dawn light, using it similarly. Lumps of spiral dawn light erupted, dyeing the surrounding lumps of spiral dawn light erupted, dyeing the surrounding 100 li with illusory shadows that constantly flickered. At this time, Fang Yuan took out 7 treasures water. This water was a plain gray color. All kinds of solid bumps that were like gold, silver, pearls, gems, jades, and agates formed naturally in the water. But the moment these solid bumps were extracted from the 7 treasures water, they would turn into 7 treasures water and splash down. The Time Path clone lifted a portion of 7 treasures water above his head. The Time Path clone could only act as support in this next step. Fang Yuan's main body had to take the primary role. The reason being that Fang Yuan's Time Path clone was only rank 6, thus unable to bear this responsibility. The divine sense of Fang Yuan's main body had already covered this place, and could immediately sense if there was anything wrong. At this moment, Fang Yuan activated his methods, immortal essence expending rapidly. A white light landed on the 7 treasures water. The 7 treasures water quickly started burbling and boiling, with countless bubbles rising up to the surface. The solid bumps in the 7 treasures water were like snow encountering hot sun, they melted rapidly at a visible rate. The 7 treasures water's volume continued to expand, and soon, all those solid bumps disappeared. After purifying the 7 treasures water, another strange light shot into the 7 treasures water. The 7 treasures water quickly turned into an ice block, cold air spread out from it, rapidly engulfing Fang Yuan's Time Path clone before spreading to the surroundings, covering 100 li precisely. When Wu Xia and the rest saw this, they quickly threw the 8 parts jade in their hands into the dense fog. Everything progressed smoothly. Several days later in Sovereign Immortal Aperture, a rumbling sound resonated within this area as an enormous 100 li long pool formed completely. This is my rank 8 year essence pool. Because of sufficient preparation and the advantage of his luck, Fang Yuan successfully constructed this year essence pool on his first try. Fang Yuan carefully examined it repeatedly and confirmed there were no flaws before he activated time path methods to draw in a tributary of the River of Time. In every immortal aperture world, as long as time passes inside, there would definitely be a tributary of the River of Time. The tributary of the River of Time was usually invisible, it could only be targeted using special time path methods. Bubble Bubble. The tributary of the River of Time in Sovereign Immortal Aperture was much wider and rapid than in ordinary immortal apertures. The tributary poured into Year Essence Pool smoothly and flowed out from the other end of the Year Essence Pool. However, the tributary of the River of Time that flowed out was thin as a brook, no longer torrential as before. The water surface of the Year Essence Pool started to rise slowly. In the following period of time, the whole Sovereign Immortal Aperture's time flow would continue to slow down. The tributary of the River of Time that flowed out would be restored to its previous state when the Year Essence Pool was completely filled. The flow of time in Sovereign Immortal Aperture would also be restored subsequently. The Year Essence Pool was successfully constructed. Fang Yuan's Time Path clone and Shadow Sex Immortals were exhausted. They had been pouring all their energy and concentration into this task, without any rest for several days. They had also expended a lot of immortal essence. Fang Yuan's main body's divine sense was still staying to observe it while the others left to rest. Fang Yuan's time path methods gradually lost their effects. The Year Essence Pool and the tributary of the River of Time also became increasingly dimmer till they completely disappeared after a while, deeply concealed inside Sovereign Immortal Aperture. The Year Essence Pool was rather special, it had integrated with the tributary of the River of Time, thus it was also concealed. It was not just a resource point, but also had the effect of a dam. For instance, draining the Year Essence Pool's water or accumulating water in it could cause a change in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture's rate of time. Although Fang Yuan had immortal killer moves like days pass like years and so on, these moves expended immortal essence, and every time they were used, they would have no more influence on the tributary of the River of Time for a set interval of time. But with the Year Essence Pool, this became much easier. Many Gu immortals, even if they did not cultivate time path, would construct this kind of essence pool in their immortal aperture to change their immortal aperture's rate of time. Naturally, they mainly constructed rank 6 or rank 7 year essence pools, and not a rank 8 year essence pool like Fang Yuan. The cost of a rank 8 year essence pool was enormous, requiring huge investments, and also required formation path methods. It was essentially an immortal Gu formation. It was fortunate that Fang Yuan's formation path attainment level was at Grandmaster, and could use the Dao marks in the immortal materials to set up immortal formations. Year beasts began to howl in joy. The water level of the year essence pool was still low, only a small number of desolate level year beasts sensed it and dived in. They were born in the river of time, growing and also dying in it. The most suitable environment for them was also the river of time. And the year essence pool imitated the environment of the river of time. It was no wonder these year beasts were joyous. Following the continuous pouring of the tributary of the river of time, the year essence pool was slowly expanding. Be it spiral dawn light, 7 treasures water, or 8 parts jade, they all had excellent stretchability and were also merged into one, so they would not self-disintegrate. When the year essence pool gets completely filled, this rank 8 year essence pool would expand to a terrifying 10,000 li length. What was even more amazing was that it was concealed deeply and was like an illusion, not occupying any space in the sovereign immortal aperture. The year essence pool was like an independent small world where Fang Yuan could build a food chain. It had no relation to the sovereign immortal aperture. What made Fang Yuan most satisfied was that the year essence pool could restrain year beasts, making them move around only in the essence pool and not escape outside. With this characteristic, Fang Yuan could accommodate even more year beasts, and those year beasts could be completely wild, like wild immemorial year beasts. Fang Yuan could only control 7 immemorial year beasts currently. If any of these immemorial year beasts were killed in battles, Fang Yuan was unable to replenish them. But if the year essence pool had other wild immemorial year beasts, the moment Fang Yuan lost 1 or 2 immemorial year beasts, he could temporarily enslave the wild immemorial year beasts to replenish his troops. This would be extremely helpful in his plan in the river of time. After this period of recuperation, Fang Yuan's main body's injuries were completely healed. It is time to separate these Gu immortal souls and bodies, then soul search them one by one. At the same time, Fang Yuan did not stop extorting Southern Border's righteous path forces. However, he met with strong resistance this time. Southern Border's righteous path forces had united to resist Fang Yuan. The year essence pool's cost was too high. Fang Yuan's previous extortions had already made these forces bleed. Fang Yuan kept on asking Southern Border's righteous path to show their sincerity, while he himself did not show any sincerity. Southern Border's righteous path secretly ruminated over this, deciding to unite and jointly put pressure on Fang Yuan to force him to give in. Several days later. If you don't show your sincerity, our Southern Border's righteous path will not give you any more resources. A Shang clan Gu immortal was chosen to represent the whole of Southern Border's righteous path to negotiate with Fang Yuan. His words quickly shifted. All our clans of Southern Border have already shown our sincerity, now it is your turn to show us yours. Only then can we discuss further, otherwise, even if you kill those Gu immortals, we won't compromise. Fang Yuan sneered, what sincerity do you want from me? Release a portion of the hostages? The Shang clan Gu immortal quickly responded, we won't make excessive demands of asking for the hostages immediately, we can move step by step, for instance, immortal Gu. You don't need many of the immortal Gu, you can first return these immortal Gu to us, and as the price, we will give you the cultivation resources you need. Southern Border's righteous path were not idiots. If they asked Fang Yuan to release a portion of the hostages, then the righteous path clans who got back their immortals might not put much effort in the next negotiations. So they would rather start bargaining with Fang Yuan starting from immortal Gu, then immortal aperture resources, Gu immortal physical bodies, finally the Gu immortal souls. Like this, Southern Border's righteous path could unite, advancing and retreating together. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1613, Threatening the Whole of Southern Border's Righteous Path. Chapter 1613, threatening the whole of Southern Border's righteous path. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. You want to get back Immortal Gu? Impossible. Fong Yuan laughed coldly. Immortal Gu were unique. They were the only one of their kind in the world. Fong Yuan possessing them meant others could not have them, thus their value was inestimable. Even though Fong Yuan had once sold Immortal Gu to purchase a huge amount of eagle beasts, he was in fatal danger at that time and had no choice but to do so. Fong Yuan possessed countless killer moves and Immortal Gu recipes. He could make use of almost all Immortal Gu. The problem was the feeding burden. Fong Yuan had basically solved this issue for his Immortal Gu. But now, there was an addition of a large number of Immortal Gu. However, the feeding resources for these Immortal Gu were almost all in the bodies of their respective Gu Immortals. These Gu Immortal experts were trump cards of their respective clans and had deep foundation. How could they not be able to feed their own Gu worms? It was because they could provide the food for their Immortal Gu by themselves that their battle strength was stable. They enjoyed unlimited glory. Currently, Fong Yuan indeed could not use a lot of the Immortal Gu, but what about the future? The future was uncertain. In the Battle of Tian Mountain, Fong Yuan could turn around the situation not only because of the guidance of star constellation Heaven's Will. The crucial key was that he possessed Change Soul Immortal Gu. Without this unassuming rank 7 Immortal Gu, Fong Yuan would have already died. Shadow Sect would have succeeded in defying heaven. The difference in having the Immortal Gu and not having it was as different as heaven and earth. Who could say if, in the future, one of these Immortal Gu might be able to help Fong Yuan turn around the situation like Change Soul Immortal Gu? Not to mention that if Fong Yuan sold these Immortal Gu, someone might make an unimaginable comeback like Fong Yuan back in the Battle of Tian Mountain. Fong Yuan refused the proposal of transacting Immortal Gu without hesitation. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal was not angry. Then how about exchanging Gu? This new proposal interested Fong Yuan. Southern Border's righteous path wanted to recover their losses as much as possible. Everyone knew Fong Yuan's viciousness and that he could very easily kill the hostages, so they were prepared for the worst. Those Immortal Gu on the captives had enormous value to the respective clans. This was because they knew the usage methods. A lot of the Immortal Gu had even been taken away from the clan's storage. The clan also had respective killer moves. Many killer moves were even their trump card methods, which would be difficult to use without the corresponding Immortal Gu. As such, Southern Border's righteous path forces were willing to give up some Immortal Gu in their storage, as these Immortal Gu did not have too high of a value to them. It was more worthwhile for them to use these Immortal Gu to exchange for the Immortal Gu in Fong Yuan's hands. Fong Yuan pondered for a moment. This deal was profitable to both sides, and was also very beneficial to him. The Immortal Gu that the Southern Border clans could not use and were of less value to them could be of great importance to Fong Yuan. You have my interest. But what Gu worms can your clans bring out? Fong Yuan asked. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal had already prepared for this, immediately sending a list to Fong Yuan through Treasure Yellow Heaven. Who knew that after Fong Yuan received the list, he said, I need to look at this list properly. I also have lists here that I will send to your respective clans. Fong Yuan, I have already said it, unless you display your sincerity, our Southern Border righteous path won't be extorted by you anymore. The Shang Clan Gu Immortal's tone immediately changed. Fong Yuan smiled, your Southern Border righteous path wants to exchange Immortal Gu, sure. But my condition is that you will have to first send the immortal materials in my list to me. Only then will you have the qualifications to make an exchange. Fong Yuan, don't go too overboard. If you act like this, we won't continue our discussion. He. Fong Yuan laughed, the Shang Clan Gu Immortal that I currently have captured is Shang Hu Zhang, right? What do you think will happen if I sell him to Fu Xianxia? Shang Clan Gu Immortal was immediately stumped. Fu Xianxia was a rank 7 demonic path Gu Immortal of Southern Border who had a deep-seated hatred with Shang Hu Zhang. More than once, he had proclaimed that were Shang Hu Zhang to end up in his hands, he was going to flay the latter's skin and tear the tendons before crushing his bones into ash. I believe Fu Xingxian will definitely be very interested in buying Shang Huzhang. Fang Yuan said in a leisurely tone. Fang Yuan, you dare. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal erupted in anger. Huh, what would I not dare to do? Fang Yuan retorted, I even dared to offend Heavenly Court, why would I fear your mere Shang Clan? You. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal could not restrain his anger at Fang Yuan's response. Fang Yuan continued, don't overestimate yourself, you are only someone who was chosen to negotiate with me. Did you really think you could represent the whole of Southern Border's righteous path? Let me give another example, Luo Clan's Luo Fei is also among the captives. What if I tear all her clothes and throw her into a cesspit? Or what if I throw her into a group of giant apes in heat, and use Information Path Gu to record every scene, then put them for sale in Treasure Yellow Heaven? Shang Clan's Gu Immortal gritted his teeth, a deep disgust flashing past his eyes. Fang Yuan, you are an infamous demon, the Reverse Flow River Lord, inheritor of Red Lotus, Spectral Soul, and many other inheritances. Your name is renowned throughout the world. How could you be so shameless and despicable? No, you are wrong. Fang Yuan shook his head, I am not despicable, but your attitude is not correct. You have been trying to provoke me, even trying to drive a wedge between me and other clans by saying bad words about them, like how Luo Clan is cursing me and wants to plot against me. I believed your words, so I took revenge against Luo Clan. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal was unable to say a word, his whole body trembled, his face paled and cold sweat started dripping from his forehead. Fang Yuan laughed heartily, now, you still think you can represent the whole of Southern Border's righteous path? After a good while, the Shang Clan Gu Immortal said with a tired expression, alright, you win, Fang Yuan. I will bring back your list, but I can't guarantee their response. Fang Yuan laughed, I don't need your guarantee, you also don't have the qualifications to give me a guarantee. Even if you could, I would not believe you. Go back, you can twist my words and add fuel to the fire when you relay the message to them. Oh, that's right, I need a satisfying answer within 3 days. If not, I will first sell Shang Huzhang to Fu Xingxian. Shang Clan's Gu Immortal immediately panicked, Fang Yuan, you can't do this. I can represent Shang Clan to discuss with you right now in private. I refuse. Fang Yuan. Damn it. Shang Clan Gu Immortal lost contact with Fang Yuan, veins popped out his forehead and pulsed like lightning. Before the 3 days limit was reached, Southern Border's righteous path handed over all the materials in Fang Yuan's list. With hostages in hand, Fang Yuan held too great of an initiative. He did not need to use any methods and just needed to play some despicable tricks to destroy the tens of thousands of years of reputation that Southern Border's righteous path had, making them the greatest laughingstocks in the eyes of every Gu Immortal. For the countless years that had passed, there were naturally cases where righteous path Gu Immortals had fallen into the hands of the demonic path. But some of these demonic path Gu Immortals were not as crazy as Fang Yuan, while most of them did not have Fang Yuan's wisdom path methods. Wisdom Path Gu Immortals were rare, even if Southern Border's righteous path forces did not have a Wisdom Path Gu Immortal in their own clan, they could rely on relations to get help from a Wisdom Path great expert. But when it came to Fang Yuan himself cultivated Wisdom Path and his Emperor Yama killer move could even defend against Fairy Z-Wei's deductions. When he hit himself, Southern Border's righteous path simply could not find his location. More importantly, Fang Yuan had the battle strength to fight rank 8. His nature was cruel and he was extremely cunning. What other options did Southern Border's righteous path have other than to accept Fang Yuan's conditions? Naturally, this was because Fang Yuan's extortions had not yet reached the bottom line of Southern Border's righteous path. If it truly reached their bottom line, Southern Border's righteous path would absolutely not be so nice. Fang Yuan, we can talk properly now, right? The previous Shang Clan Gu Immortal found Fang Yuan once again. Fang Yuan smiled, are you truly so unpopular that you are still doing this troublesome job? The Shang Clan Gu Immortal's face was gloomy, just like Fang Yuan said, this task was harming his reputation, but what could he do? He had no choice but to show up. Shang Clan's first Supreme Elder had personally mentioned his name. Let's cut to the chase. We have already satisfied your condition, now. Before he finished speaking, Fang Yuan interrupted. It is my turn to show sincerity. Here. What is this? Fang Yuan smiled. This is an information path mortal Gu for Yi clan. I have used some blood path methods to create it, so only Yi clan's Gu immortals can refine it. Even if others try to refine it, it will end up in failure. Even if they use some methods to refine it, they will not receive my exact message. This. No more questions, take it back and you will know. Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan. Damn it, he left again. Shang clan Gu immortal was stifled, he could only hand over this Gu worm like Fang Yuan said. Yi clan refined it, obtaining an address. They were worried this was another of Fang Yuan's traps, so they gathered the other clans and moved together. In the location, they saw Gu immortal Yi Yang. Yi Yang. This is my clan's Yi Yang. Oh my goodness, this scum Fang Yuan actually released a hostage. In an instant, Southern Border's immortals were surprised and joyous, while also being unable to believe this. Wait a moment, don't get happy so soon. There might be an issue with this Yi Yang. Without needing the reminder of other clans, Yi clan had already begun carrying out a comprehensive inspection. The final result was this was indeed Yi Yang and not Fang Yuan's disguise. It was just that this was not the complete Yi Yang, but just his body. Yi Yang's soul was still in Fang Yuan's hands. Fang Yuan's action made Southern Border's Gu immortals see hope of redeeming the captives. In the next meeting, Fang Yuan directly admitted, I released Yi Yang's body so I can obtain even more benefits. Who is to say that I can't imprison the rest of you in the future, so I can't damage my reputation, right? Don't worry, as long as you can pay the price, I will release all the captives. This scum Fang Yuan. Southern Border's righteous path did not know how they should respond. The immortals felt mixed feelings, they were happy at seeing hopes of redeeming the hostages, but felt disgust, anger, hatred, and helplessness towards Fang Yuan, including a trace of unease and fear. Fang Yuan could appear and disappear unpredictably, he had the ability to imprison lone righteous path Gu immortals. As long as he succeeded, he could escape to an enormous distance once and Southern Border's righteous path would have no way to find his location. The whole of Southern Border's righteous path was threatened by Fang Yuan, even rank 8 Gu immortals were feeling vigilant. Even they did not feel safe against Fang Yuan, Xianxia was the best example after all. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1614, Soul Search. Chapter 1614, Soul Search. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Fang Yuan's words made Southern Border's righteous path furious and wary, but he had reached his objective of persuading them. Although this frankness caused Southern Border's righteous path to feel even more hatred towards Fang Yuan, they chose to believe in Fang Yuan's sincerity. In fact, they were willing to believe in this sincerity. Because losing a Gu immortal would be an even greater loss to them. It would not matter much if it were rank 6 Gu immortals with ordinary abilities. The thing was, the captives were rank 7 experts, trump cards of their respective clans. Xia clan Xianxia was even its first supreme elder. Losing such experts would greatly affect the whole clan. Spirit Affinity House had once lost Feng Jiugu, its resource points had immediately been coveted by the surrounding ancient sects, and they were under huge pressure. The 10 great ancient sects had the same superior, heavenly court, their relations were much closer than Southern Border's righteous path, but this situation occurred even then. Were the Southern Border righteous path forces to end up in such a situation, their state would no doubt be worse. So be it if every Southern Border righteous path clan lost these Gu immortals. What made them secretly worried was Fang Yuan killing some and releasing some. Earth veins were stirring, all kinds of immortal materials and wild immortal Gu appeared endlessly, it had already caused every Southern Border force to fight each other, they were almost at the point of killing for these resources. There were many individual forces in Southern Border's righteous path. They were already filled with enough conflicts, and the movement of these earth veins had further intensified these conflicts. If Fang Yuan killed some and released some, there was no doubt that the original balance between the righteous path forces would be broken, the whole of Southern Border's situation would once again be unstable. The Southern Border righteous path forces were allowing themselves to be extorted by Fang Yuan. Was it just because they were afraid of him or because they were worried about the captives? It was not as simple as that. They were also worried about themselves. Whoever Fang Yuan released or killed could change the whole of Southern Border situation. They were indeed afraid of Fang Yuan despite them not admitting it. But they were even more wary of each other. Fang Yuan could clearly see this political tension, and thus was able to unscrupulously extort Southern Border's righteous path. The righteous path assumes dignified airs, but is absolutely not ambiguous when taking action. Northern Plains He tribe was an excellent example. He tribe weakened, and with the excuse of harboring a culprit of the destruction of 88 True Yang building, it was immediately besieged by all the Huangjin tribes. Compared to lone, wandering immortals like me, no matter how much we extort, we can't take away territories and we also cannot quickly build a super force to occupy these territories. On the other hand, righteous path forces have a lot of manpower and have the instinct to expand, so the threat is even higher. Speaking of which, this is also because there are many Southern Border forces while lacking a powerful leader. If I were to do this in Central Continent, none of the 10 great ancient sects would give any attention to me. Southern Border, Western Desert, and Eastern Sea are filled with many individual forces. It is just that the conflicts are the deepest in Southern Border because of the movement in earth veins in this period of time. As for Northern Plains, a trace of a smile appeared on Fang Yuan's face. Compared to his previous life, Northern Plains' longevity heaven had already appeared to the world ahead of time, and was now actively uniting the whole of Northern Plains' Gu immortal world. Previously, this plan was obstructed by Heavenly Court, who knew which pawn of Heavenly Court disguised as Fang Yuan to kill Cloud Gentleman, thwarting Longevity Heaven's plan to recruit Northern Plains' lone immortals. But not long ago, Longevity Heaven had a turning point. That was Xianxia sect seeking refuge. Longevity Heaven absorbed the whole of Xianxia sect, moreover doing it with full publicity, letting the whole world know that they had taken in Xianxia blessed land, giving Xianxia blessed land an equal status according to the former agreement between Giant Sun Immortal Venerable and Long-Hair Ancestor, also ensuring their safety. This action of promoting their recruitment of a powerful force was truly spectacular. All the Gu immortals of 5 regions were shaken. Xianxia blessed land's Gu immortals were all variant humans, but Longevity Heaven could actually be so generous. That meant their treatment of human Gu immortals would definitely be even better. Longevity Heaven thus successfully turned around people's hearts, changing the mindset of the Gu immortals in the whole of Northern Plains. Their plan of recruiting lone immortals progressed rapidly, completely different from before. Speaking of which, Xianxia Land's spirit was able to get help from Longevity Heaven. They were truly fortunate. Longevity Heaven was actively taking action. Northern Plains would definitely bring even more trouble to Central Continent in the 5 regions' chaotic war. While Western Desert's Shao clan and Southern Border's Qi clan were secretly receiving Fang Yuan support. This was not all. In this period of time, Fang Yuan was constantly mentioning the threat possessed by Heavenly Court in Treasure Yellow Heaven, repeatedly mentioning the problem of the killer move Star Cast and Fate Immortal Gu. Videos of the Battle of Reverse Flow River, Battle of the Dream Realm, the Battle of Xianxia Sect, were all displayed in Treasure Yellow Heaven by Fang Yuan, constantly playing on loop, silently recounting Heavenly Court's ambitious and tyrannical way of meddling with the other 4 regions. Such actions seemingly had no response. But Fang Yuan believed that there was no super force in the other 4 regions that did not detest Heavenly Court's actions. They were just temporarily restraining themselves. Central Continent's 10 great ancient sects accepted Heavenly Court because they were subsects of Heavenly Court, founded by the members of Heavenly Court. Northern Plains' righteous path forces could accept Longevity Heaven because they descended from the same bloodline, and Longevity Heaven was Ancestor Giant Sun's Grotto Heaven that represented the righteous path. While Southern Border, Western Desert, and Eastern Sea were controlled by various super forces. They were used to abusing their powers, and none of them wanted a force to boss them around. Days later, in the Sovereign Immortal Aperture. Immortal Killer Move, Soul Search. Fang Yuan had already designed a killer move with the rank 7 Soul Search Immortal Gu, taken from Yang, as the core. Its efficiency was a dozen times higher than just activating the Soul Search Immortal Gu. Under the effect of this killer move, all kinds of information was extracted out of every Gu immortal soul and sent to Fang Yuan's mind. Fang Yuan saw the lifestyle of each Gu immortal clearly, their cultivation secrets and techniques, factional disputes in their respective forces, secret storages, and so on. Fang Yuan already had a good understanding of Southern Border. On one hand, there were records of it among Shadow Sect's true inheritances, while he had also learned a lot through Wu Clan's information when he had infiltrated them as Wu Yi. With such a foundation, this first-hand information of many Gu immortals was added, further deepening Fang Yuan's understanding of Southern Border situation. Even rank 8 Gu immortals like Wu Yong and Qi Chu Yu would not have such detailed understanding of Southern Border situation. Looks like the immortal Gu list they gave me is correct, except they have concealed some information. Southern Border's Righteous Path forces wanted to exchange Gu, and gave Fang Yuan their list of immortal Gu. Right now, Fang Yuan immediately understood each force's foundation by soul searching these Gu immortals. Rank 6 or ordinary rank 7 Gu immortals probably would not have such information, but these rank 7 Gu immortals were experts of their forces. Strength meant authority, so every one of them was a core of their clan's higher-ups. Fang Yuan was not surprised at the clans hiding information, because he knew that the immortal Gu which were not mentioned were those that the clans were not willing to exchange with and that were very valuable to the respective clan. If Fang Yuan wanted to exchange for the immortal Gu on the list, it could be done more easily. In fact, he also wanted to exchange Gu. I need to construct an immortal Gu house to be a base for me to rest and recuperate in River of Time. And, with an immortal Gu house, Shadow Sect's immortals can also participate in the battle and lend me a hand. Fang Yuan could exchange the immortal Gu which he did not need. After all, if Southern Border's righteous path was strengthened, they would be able to resist Heavenly Court much more efficiently. Naturally, Fang Yuan would not exchange those immortal Gu which he had great use for. Immortal Gu were unique, they were priceless, but even more important was the overall situation. Heavenly Court. Immortal formation rumbled loudly. Fairy Zi-Wei looked at Spectral Soul while holding an iron dragonfish. Scenes of relevant memories were surging out of Spectral Soul and playing in front of Fairy Zi-Wei's eyes. Fairy Zi-Wei smiled. With this portion of the food path true inheritance, Heavenly Court can also produce iron, copper, silver, and gold dragonfish. We can change the situation in Treasure Yellow Heaven. Spectral Soul, you are already done for. Dang Hun Mountain's detonation gave you some time to prolong your dying breath, but now, what can you rely on? Spectral Soul was condensed into a lump, silent like a dead object. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1615, Continued Progress. Chapter 1615, Continued Progress. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Inside the Sovereign Immortal Aperture. Immortal Killer Move, Soul Search. A vast force shot at Xianxia's soul fiercely, but Xianxia's soul suddenly shined with time path Dao marks that completely blocked Fang Yuan's soul search killer move. But Fang Yuan did not give up, continuing to instill immortal essence without stopping. A good while later, like a pair of hands lifting a corner of a stuck steel board, a gap appeared in the time path Dao marks protecting Xianxia's soul, allowing Fang Yuan's soul search killer move to finally take effect. At the next moment, a huge amount of information was greedily absorbed by Fang Yuan. But the time path Dao marks had not admitted defeat, the surrounding Dao marks moved in to fill the gap. As time passed, this gap which Fang Yuan had made after so much effort was once again filled in with time path Dao marks. Furthermore, the defensive power of this area was even stronger than before. Fang Yuan's soul search killer move thus stopped here. This Xianxia is indeed worthy of being a rank 8 Gu immortal. she has such a robust foundation that even her soul is protected by a time path defensive method that can resist a rank 7 soul search killer move. This defensive method also has self-recovery and counterattacking abilities. It is truly wonderful. After Fang Yuan stole all the immortal Gu from the southern border immortal captives, he extracted their souls, separating them from their bodies. At this state, the threat of these southern border captives had already fallen to a negligible level. It was then the process of searching their souls that no longer had the protection of a physical body. The souls of Tai Chu Zhong, Shang Hu Zhang and others did not give much trouble to Fang Yuan, so all their memories and information were extracted by Fang Yuan. But he encountered some trouble with Yang Ku. Yang Ku was a rank 7 expert who primarily cultivated soul path, so he naturally had strong resistance toward soul search methods. Yang Ku still could not be considered troublesome. Even more troublesome was Lu Hao. Lu Hao's fixed-space immortal Gu and other Gu were tampered by Heavenly Court, so Fang Yuan was not able to obtain them. Heavenly Court naturally did not forget about his soul, putting in layers of strong defensive methods on it. But these two were still soul-searched by Fang Yuan in the end. If Dang Hun Mountain and Luo Pa Valley were sacred lands of soul cultivation, Fang Yuan's spectral soul true inheritance was no doubt the #1 soul path sacred scripture. Fang Yuan had thus learned of Lu Hao's true identity, a spy of Heavenly Court. However, Xiaxhia's soul was still the most troublesome one. Her soul was filled with time path Dao marks which had formed into a tight defense that blocked any external attacks. Fang Yuan's soul search was naturally a kind of attack and was harmful to Xiaxhia. Fang Yuan tried all his methods, using immortal formations to suppress the soul, modifying the soul search killer move, finally reaching the limit of the soul search killer move's power so that he could search Xiaxhia's soul. But this soul search was extremely difficult and did not progress smoothly. Fang Yuan often had to use a Herculean effort before he could open a tiny gap. But this gap would be covered again by time path Dao marks, not long later. Fang Yuan could only soul search in the limited duration of the gap. After this duration passed, the gap would be closed by even more time path Dao marks than before, its defense increasing further. Fortunately, the time path Dao marks on Xiaxhia's soul did not increase. An increase in time path Dao marks in the gap meant there were few Dao marks in other areas. This gave Fang Yuan even better chances for his next attack. The other souls were already searched completely, only Xiaxhia's soul remained. Fang Yuan continued to target Xiaxhia's soul, while using the time path clone to go into each Gu immortal's immortal aperture by using fixed immortal travel. Because he had obtained first-hand information from soul searching, Fang Yuan was fully aware of the landscape inside these Gu immortals' immortal apertures. He could easily enter the immortal apertures by using fixed immortal travel. Furthermore, Fang Yuan was also aware of what resources these immortal apertures were hiding. In a Gu immortal's cultivation, the immortal aperture was an extremely important factor. All of these southern border immortals were experts with deep foundation. Their immortal aperture management was naturally at a superior level with all kinds of good stuff inside. But these Gu immortals would be released by Fang Yuan. Read comics on our webnovel.live. Because the benefits from annexing their immortal apertures and absorbing their Dao marks were far inferior to the benefits from extorting those super forces. An increase in Dao marks brought in an increase in foundation as well as a brighter future. But no matter how beautiful the future was, it was nothing if he could not cross the present obstacle. The present obstacle was naturally Fate Gu. More accurately, he had to stop Heavenly Court from restoring Fate Gu. But Fang Yuan had made no progress in this. He was currently able to avoid Heavenly Court's pursuit, but Fate Gu was protected in the depths of Heavenly Court. Stopping Heavenly Court from restoring it was far beyond Fang Yuan's capability. So Fang Yuan was thinking of every way possible to enter the river of time and inherit Red Lotus true inheritance. In the history of humans, 3 great demon venerables had successively attacked Heavenly Court, but only Red Lotus Demon Venerable was able to break Fate Gu. Although he could not completely destroy it, he had indeed broken Fate Gu. In the true inheritances left behind by Red Lotus Demon Venerable, there were likely to be plans targeted at destroying Fate Gu. To smoothly inherit Red Lotus true inheritance and not be destroyed by Heavenly Court in the process, Fang Yuan needed to raise his time path strength. Other paths methods were greatly weakened and not useful when fighting in the river of time. Year Essence Pool, Time Path Immortal Gu House, as well as many other things required Fang Yuan to transact with the southern border righteous path. His chips were naturally these Gu immortal captives. Several days later in the sovereign immortal aperture's time. Roar. In the sky of mini southern border, a dark green rock dragon roared, its enormous and slender body twisting around. Then, under the effect of Fang Yuan's killer move, the rock dragon pierced into mini southern border's ground. Loud rumbling noises resounded over the surroundings as this rock dragon pierced into the depths of the ground until even its tail disappeared underground. Fang Yuan let out a breath. The matter of drawing in the mineral vein is finally finished. This rock dragon was not the rock dragon of the Rockman tribe, but was the manifestation of a mineral vein. This mineral vein was constructed by using rank 7 immortal material dark ink stone. Fang Yuan had moved it over from an Earth Path Southern Border Captive's immortal aperture. As for the method to move such a large mineral vein, Spectral Soul's true inheritance naturally had it, but the immortal Gu and the killer move Fang Yuan used came from that captive. The captive used to relocate outside world's dark ink stone mines into their immortal aperture. Fang Yuan was only imitating them. With this dark ink stone mineral vein, I can extract a batch every year and sell them in treasure yellow heaven. This profit was not much, but it was a steady income. Because the dark ink stone mineral vein would expand itself by absorbing the surrounding earth chi. As long as Fang Yuan extracted limited amounts, he would have a continuous flow of dark ink stones. Although dark ink stone did not have a high price among rank 7 immortal materials, it was still a rank 7 immortal material. Its price could not be neglected. Maybe I can move in a batch of rockmen and breed them near the dark ink stone vein. Fang Yuan suddenly had a thought. This was extremely beneficial to the rockmen. The higher the quality of the mineral veins, the more helpful it would be for a rockman tribe's procreation, survival, and strengthening. What was even more amazing was that the rockmen could also nurture these mineral veins and increase their purity. This was a win-win situation for both sides. But this dark ink stone mineral vein was not suitable for mining yet, and moving in rockmen would only make it their new home. Fang Yuan thought for a moment before deciding to bring in some rockmen. The profits from mining the dark ink stone mineral vein was of no importance to him. What he was more interested in was the future benefits brought by the rockmen and the mineral vein. Fang Yuan had not just obtained this one dark ink stone mineral vein from the southern border captives. There were dozens of mountains in mini southern border now. Most of them were ordinary mountains, but were filled with dense earth path Dao marks. They were treasure troves. There were also some mountain ranges that reached the level of famous mountains. For instance, Interior Rain Mountain. This mountain's peak was always shrouded by a layer of dark clouds from where light rain continued to fall. The drizzling rain was not ordinary rainwater, but rank 6 immortal material interior rain. Another example was Copper Seal Mountain. This mountain was red and had a squarish shape. It was like a large seal was standing upright in mini southern border. Copper Seal Mountain did not have even a trace of soil. It was completely formed from all kinds of copper, mortal level copper like chaotic sky copper, pragna copper, snow flower copper, and so on, and immortal copper like profound gray copper and ascending dragon copper. Naturally, the mortal level copper were of the highest amount and occupied the most space, while immortal coppers only occupied a small portion and were mostly rank 6 immortal materials. The highest level of the copper was a unique rank 7 copper, the famous domination copper. With this copper present, it essentially could not support another rank 7 copper. Mountains, mineral veins, forests, as these Gu immortal captives were from southern border, nearly half of the stolen resources were moved to mini southern border. Because these resources were extremely suited to this environment. The other half of the resources were split into the other 4 mini regions as well as the mini 9 heavens. For instance, in mini central continent, there was now a phantom shadow flower garden and a large fertile land filled with an enormous amount of immortal farmer soil. In many northern plains, there was now a heaven pillar wind. This wind's appearance was like a tall pillar, extremely tall and long. When it blows, it will not cause movement, only blowing on the spot. From outside, it resembled a giant pillar that extended into the sky. In Mini Eastern Sea, there was a brand new sea area, Wave Flower Sea Area. The sea area was filled with turbulent waves, where countless magical flowers were formed during the moments where waves appeared and vanished. Because they had a short lifespan, they were hard to gather. Fang Yuan had been rather surprised when he obtained the method to nurture this resource from Yi Yang. In Mini Western Desert, a dozen hibiscus trees were planted. Every branch of this tree was an immortal material. The sovereign immortal aperture is too large, in terms of specific value. Previously, the sovereign immortal aperture's development was only at 3 to 4%. Now, because of these resources, it has reached 8 to 9%. There are still many resources left in these southern border Gu Immortals immortal apertures, and also Xianxia's Grotto Heaven. With all of them added, the development will definitely pass 10%. Fang Yuan heaved a sigh. These resources were either on large or small scale, and a lot were large-scale resource points and economic pillars of each southern border Gu Immortal. Heavenly Court had already made a move in Treasure Yellow Heaven, selling copper dragonfish, iron dragonfish and silver dragonfish at heavily reduced price, causing a great impact to Fang Yuan's dragonfish business. But so what? These dozen newly added economic pillars would support his continued progress. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1616, Request to Fang Clan. Chapter 1616, Request to Fang Clan. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Sovereign Immortal Aperture, Mini Southern Border. Rumble. The ground shook violently for a moment, before the dense radiance of an Earth Path Killer move covered the surrounding 100 li. Like a large formless hand molding soft mud, the surrounding terrain began to sink in while the land in the periphery began to protrude out, forming a circular valley. This sunken land was surrounded by mountains, forming an environment that was isolated from the outside. There was no vegetation in this sunken land, soil was also scarce, it was instead covered by a large amount of steel. This was White Steel Bowl Valley. Fang Yuan extorted the production method of the White Steel Extract resource point as well as corresponding construction materials from Shang Clan. White Steel Bowl Valley was a medium-sized resource point. After its construction, it would coagulate rank 7 immortal material White Steel Extract at the center of the valley. With this immortal material, Fang Yuan could feed rank 7 Edge Gu by himself. Previously, when he had plundered Tai Chu Zhong's immortal aperture, he did not find resources to feed Edge Gu, but after soul searching him, Fang Yuan realized he had intended to construct this resource point and had already discussed the price with Shang Huzhang. Fang Yuan directly extorted Shang Clan, constructing White Steel Bowl Valley without paying any price. After this task was done, Fang Yuan's time path clone immediately moved towards Dang Hun Mountain. A lofty and large crystal mountain, pink throughout, was emitting illusory radiance. Fang Yuan threw soul cores into Dang Hun Mountain. Not long later, a large amount of Guts Gu was produced on the surface of the mountain. Dang Hun Mountain had finally recovered, looking close to its complete state. 99% restoration was already enough. Fang Yuan could not restore it completely, as Heavenly Court already knew Dang Hun Mountain's appearance in its complete state. Although fixed immortal travel was in Fang Yuan's hand, who could say Heavenly Court did not have an immortal killer move that could produce the effect of fixed immortal travel. From now on, I can produce a large amount of Guts Gu and restart my Guts Gu business once again. Fang Yuan let out a breath of air. It had not been easy to reach this state. Fang Yuan had expended a massive amount of immortal essence. Dang Hun Mountain had been destroyed before as well, but it had been destroyed by Gruel Mud Immortal Gu. It had turned into mud but still retained soul path Dao marks. And this time, Fang Yuan only had a small piece of Dang Hun Mountain. Most of the soul path Dao marks had been destroyed with the destruction of Dang Hun Mountain. Through this process of restoring Dang Hun Mountain, Fang Yuan deeply experienced the power of the killer move orderly well. Spectral Soul Demon Venerable had used this rank 9 immortal killer move himself. its effect was magical and peerless. Fang Yuan could not have restored Dang Hun Mountain without its help. With my Daoist Gu business, Heavenly Court is unable to limit my income any further. But with so many resource points taken from the southern border immortals, I can continue to cultivate without relying on Daoist Gu business. It is better to use these Daoist Gu for my own soul path cultivation. Fang Yuan's soul foundation had previously broken into 100 million man soul level, but had greatly fallen now. Cultivating and raising his soul foundation once again meant Fang Yuan could enslave even more immemorial year beasts. Such a pity that my development plan for Green Ghost Desert did not succeed. Qing Chou has escaped, Swan Bujin's identity was also exposed, I can no longer continue the plan of hunting soul beasts. However, I might be able to borrow Fang Clan's help. Fang Yuan considered it. He wanted to cultivate his soul, so he naturally needed more Daoist Gu, which also meant expending a lot of souls. The souls of the southern border Gu immortals could not be used here, it would be a waste of their value. Soul cores were most suitable. Where could he get a large amount of soul cores? The price of soul cores had already gone up in Treasure Yellow Heaven, it was especially high during this recent time. Fang Yuan knew this was Heavenly Court's doing. Fang Clan. Discussion hall, all the Supreme Elders had gathered. Everyone, have a look at this letter. At the main seat was an old man, he was tall and sturdy, with long white hair spreading around his head like a lion's mane, he was Fang Clan's first Supreme Elder, Fang Gong. Fang Clan's second Supreme Elder, Wisdom Path Great Grandmaster Fang Di Chang, third Supreme Elder Fang Huasheng, as well as Fang Ji, Fang Chen, Fang Lang, and Fang Yun were all present. Everyone glanced through the letter and had different expressions. Fang Chen gritted his teeth, I had already sensed that Swan Bujin was not a good person, but had not expected him to be Fang Yuan in disguise. Heavenly Court has exposed his identity, and is even blaming us Fang Clan for colluding with a demonic person. Right now, our clan is being ostracized by other righteous path forces, it is all because of this demon Fang Yuan. And he wants us to supply him with soul cores. He is truly dreaming. Fang Chen had married into Fang Clan, he once had a verbal dispute with Fang Yuan. He immediately showed his stance right now, not willing to associate with the demon Fang Yuan. Rank 7 Poison Path Gu Immortal Fang Ji glanced at Fang Chen, saying coldly, so Fang Chen, you want to reject Fang Yuan's request? Fang Chen was stunned, is our Fang Clan afraid of Fang Yuan? Right now, every large righteous path force is pressuring our Fang Clan, their reason being that we colluded with a demonic path member. If we now make a deal with Fang Yuan, they will have an even bigger excuse to isolate us. Fang Ji was silent. In the trip to Green Ghost Desert, Fang Clan had beaten back Heavenly Court's rank 8 Gu Immortal Chen Yi, succeeded in capturing Divine Bean Palace, and also forcibly subdued 2 rank 7 Lone Immortals, Old Ghost by June and Eagle Concubine, to be Fang Clan's slaves. Their harvests were huge. But while they had made gains, Fang Clan had also paid a considerable price. Their 3 Immortal Gu houses had suffered serious damage, and they still had no ways to refine Divine Bean Palace. Fang Clan's strength had thus fallen greatly, Heavenly Court exposed this matter, causing Fang Clan to be immediately met with difficulties from other Western Desert righteous path forces. But were they truly going to reject Fang Yuan? This question had already been lingering in the minds of Fang Clan Gu Immortals. Could Fang Clan afford to reject him? Fang Clan was being troubled by every clan, they were in a precarious situation from the enormous pressure. And, they were going to offend Fang Yuan at such a crucial time. At present, who in the world did not know how vicious and crafty Fang Yuan was? He also had powerful battle strength to boot, even Heavenly Court was without options against him. And such a person happened to be all alone in the world with no fetters of relatives and loved ones, no territories or organization, Fang Clan simply had no way to bargain against him. Fang Clan's Gu Immortals started recalling past information, how Fang Yuan had used fixed immortal travel to move around and continuously wreck the resource points of southern borders Qi Clan. If Fang Clan truly refused Fang Yuan, and Fang Yuan troubled them like he dealt with Qi Clan, what should they do? Qi clan was a righteous path force of southern border. When they had been attacked by Fang Yuan, they did not receive support from any other clan. Fang clan's situation would be much worse than Qi clan's. Not only would Fang clan fail to receive reinforcements, they might even be pincer attacked by other righteous path forces. If they were not careful, Fang clan would become the next He tribe from northern plains, their headquarters captured and their clan exterminated. Fang Leng, Fang Yun, what are your opinions? Fang Dichang suddenly broke the silence. Fang Yun was stunned. They were only rank 6, they normally could only listen from the side and had no qualifications to speak on this kind of occasion. Now, he was suddenly being asked, and was caught off guard. This. I also don't know what we should do. After all, Fang Yuan saved my life, he is my benefactor. Moreover, haven't we made an agreement with him? It should be alright to give him soul cores as the compensation. Ah, of course, I will listen to Lord Father, you can just deduce it. Fang Dichang's expression was slightly dark. He took a glance at his adopted son before looking towards Fang Leng. Compared to the flippant Fang Yun, Fang Leng had a steady nature and was well thought of by many Gu immortals of Fang clan, believing him to be the future hope of Fang clan. Fang Leng thought deeply before speaking. I wonder if everyone has noticed that Fang Yuan did not use the name of Xuan Bujin in this letter, but directly used his own name. Fang Chen snorted. It is because Heavenly Court already exposed it. It is useless for Fang Yuan to use Xuan Bujin's identity. He might also be thinking of threatening our clan. By using his name, he is trying to say, I am Fang Yuan, if your Fang clan does not follow my request, you shall face my, Fang Yuan's, anger and vengeance. Fang Ling smiled, there is indeed this meaning. Fang Yuan is confident he can create trouble for our Fang clan. I also believe he can do this, so I think we should agree to Fang Yuan's request. What? Fang Chen's voice rose, his eyes widened as he tried to rebuke. But, Fang Dichang waved his hand, let him continue. Fang Chen did not dare to speak any more. Fang Leng took a deep breath before continuing, everyone, our clan has landed in a precarious situation and is being troubled from all around. Is it truly because we collaborated with the demon Fang Yuan? That is not the case. The true reason is that our clan obtained Divine Bean Palace. Once we absorb our gains properly, the top spot among Western Desert's righteous path forces will probably belong to our Fang clan. Strength represents power and authority, and even more importantly, benefits. Our clan's rise will naturally be through stepping on other clans. This is why the other great clans are not tolerating us and are jointly pressuring us. If our clan does not satisfy Fang Yuan's request and makes a clean break with him, will the other righteous path forces let us go? That is impossible. On the contrary, we will have made enemies with Fang Yuan. Fang Yuan has rank 8 battle strength. If such a demonic overlord takes revenge, it will probably cause endless headache to any superforce. And by satisfying Fang Yuan's request, not only can we fulfill the previously said agreement, we can also improve our relationship, and even might be able to use his strength to deal with other superforces. Of course, we will send the soul cores secretly to him, and after discussing with him, we can act like we have completely broken off our relationship with him. What does it matter if we lose those rank 6 and rank 7 soul cores? They are only immortal materials. As long as our Fang clan can get past this difficulty, what immortal material would we lack in the future? The immortals fell into silence. Fang Dichang chuckled. Fang Gong laughed heartily, good, we will do it like this then. Fang Yun, you get in touch with Fang Yuan. What? Huh. Fang Yun was dazed. It was clearly Fang Leng who had analyzed and made the proposal. Why was he the one to execute it? But first Supreme Elder's command had to be obeyed. Fang Yun could only accept it. This Fang Leng has sound judgment, he sees the overall situation clearly. First and Second Elder are painstakingly nurturing him into the future successor of Fang clan. How could such a person have a stain of colluding with a demon? So Fang Yun was ordered to take the task. Fang Chen glanced at the ignorant Fang Yun with a pitying look. This pity also had sympathy. Why was Fang Yun made to do this task? That was because Fang Yun was Fang Dichang's adopted son. The two biggest factions in Fong clan belonged to 1st Supreme Elder Fong Gong and 2nd Supreme Elder Fong Di Chang. As for Fong Chen himself, he was extremely aware of the situation. Unfortunately, he was an outsider married into Fong clan, his talents were useless because of his status, he could only be a superficial stepping stone for Fong Leng. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 16-17, Crucial Tribulation. Chapter 16-17, Crucial Tribulation. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Soul cores with the size of a chicken egg, dark blue to the point of being black, rained down on Dang Hun Mountain. The soul core contained all of the essence of a soul beast. After the soul beast died, its corpse would turn into smoke and scatter, leaving behind only its soul core. Soul cores condensed a large amount of soul path Dao marks, they were a top-tier Gu material. Soul cores could be found in all sizes. An ordinary soul beast's soul core was the size of a rice grain, and would only be the size of a chicken egg when they reached rank 6. Those of rank 7 were slightly larger, while a rank 8 immemorial soul beast's soul core was as large as a horse carriage. After a round of discussion, Fong clan finally agreed to Fong Yuan's request, secretly sending him a large amount of soul cores. These soul cores were almost all rank 6 Gu level, with few being rank 7 soul cores, and as for rank 8 soul core, there was not even one. Fong Yuan had 2 rank 8 soul cores, but he was storing them, not wanting to use them for producing Guts Gu on Dang Hun Mountain. Rank 8 immortal materials were normally used to refine rank 8 immortal Gu or to construct a large formation. Using them for producing Guts Gu would be somewhat of a waste of their value. The radiance of Dang Hun Mountain shook as the soul cores scattered into powder, sprinkling their essence into Dang Hun Mountain. Within moments, Guts Gu started condensing with rapid speed. Fong Yuan nodded inwardly at this scene. My soul path cultivation can get back on track again and progress swiftly. Soul Path Foundation was extremely important to Fong Yuan. Enslaving immemorial year beasts required it, moreover the deeper the Soul Foundation, the more immemorial year beasts Fong Yuan could enslave. Emperor Yama expended Soul Foundation. Whenever a Wisdom Path Gu immortal made deductions about Fong Yuan, Emperor Yama would activate to conceal Fong Yuan while expending a portion of Fong Yuan's Soul Foundation. Burning Soul Bursting Luck also depended on Soul Foundation. There was also Lead Soul into Dream. Fong Yuan had already studied this killer move completely, it had a chance of failure. But if Fong Yuan's Soul Foundation was higher than the target, the killer move's success rate would be much higher. Fong Yuan had directly used his name in the letter, abandoning Swan Bujin's name. Fong clan's response was not beyond his expectations. To a super force, a lone force like Fong Yuan could not seize their territories, at most he could steal some resources. But other super forces were different, they could forcibly occupy territories and seize entire resource points by sending in their manpower. The greatest threat to Fong clan were the other righteous path forces that were glaring at it covetously. Moreover, Western Desert is somewhat special. Western Desert Gu immortals compromise a little more easily than those of the other 4 regions. This was not because Western Desert Gu immortals were soft, it was because of the environment. Different from other regions, Western Desert was filled with boundless deserts and oases. If an oasis was destroyed in a battle between Gu masters, they would have no foundation for survival and could easily perish together. On the other hand, different oases produced different resources. Gu masters would need each other's help to make up for what they lack in their cultivation. So Gu masters often formed caravans and moved a long distance, which was usually quite dangerous and exhausting. Thus, there were many collaborative relationships between Gu masters as well as different forces. So, since long ago, Western Desert's Gu masters were molded to compromise and make concessions for the survival of both sides. Any Gu immortal had cultivated step by step from Gu master stage. This habit had sunk deep into their bones and was already a part of the nature of Western Desert Gu immortals. In his first life, Fong Yuan had roamed around Western Desert for some time and was well aware of the nature of Western Desert's people. Had Fang Yuan captured Western Desert Gu immortals, the Western Desert Righteous Path forces would have compromised quicker than Southern Border, their attitude would also be more realistic and proper. Had Fang Yuan captured Northern Plains Gu immortals, it would be a different situation. Northern Plains Gu immortals were often valiant and unafraid of death, they might even think it was a disgrace for them to be saved. Fang Yuan would suffer a headache with those captives. In the following days, Fang Yuan resumed his soul path cultivation while continuing to extort Southern Border's righteous path forces and soul-searching the captives. Fang Yuan's soul search target was Xianxia. Although it was rather difficult to search her soul, he was not without any progress. Fang Yuan's immortal aperture's time was very fast, under continuous effort over time, he had made many gains. Soon, Xianxia's immortal killer moves were plundered by Fang Yuan. Xianxia was worthy of being Xia clan's first supreme elder, she had developed 2 sets of killer moves involving spring, summer, autumn, and winter, these 4 immortal Gu, each set had 4 moves. The first set of killer moves was mainly used for battle, spring scissors, summer fan, autumn perception, and winter coat. Among them, Fang Yuan had already seen spring scissors and summer fan. These 2 killer moves were extremely ferocious, fully displaying rank 8 might. Autumn perception was an investigative killer move which greatly made up for Fang Yuan's shortcoming in the investigative aspect. Winter coat was a defensive killer move with extraordinary effect. The second set of killer moves was used for managing the immortal aperture, spring plowing, summer hoeing, autumn harvest, and winter storage. Every move was ingenious and profound, the more terrifying part was when these 4 moves were used in unison, their might would be amplified and have extraordinary effect in managing the immortal aperture. Besides these, there were of course other moves as well, used for healing, movement, or evasive maneuvers, they were all exquisite but could not compare to these 2 sets of killer moves. In fact, conceptualizing immortal killer moves was a difficult process, there was a high requirement for the ability and talents of Gu immortals. Central Continent's vicious lightning fiend spent a few years in closed cultivation before he was able to deduce the killer move lightning deity. And this was when he had blood deity's immortal Gu recipe as reference. Under a normal situation, without any help of wisdom path methods, a Gu immortal would on average need 5 to 6 years of time to deduce and conceptualize a killer move. Choosing suitable Gu worms out of myriads of Gu worms was not easy. There were even countless choices in combining Gu worms. Even if a killer move was conceptualized, it was useless if it did not have practical value, and also could not be used if the side effect was too severe. After completing a killer move, it still had to be tested and improved, which was even more difficult. Naturally, 5 to 6 years was not referring to a Gu immortal wholeheartedly concentrating on deducing the killer move without doing anything else. If the Gu immortal had reference materials like immortal Gu recipes or inheritances of predecessors, they could further shorten this time. But the time taken was normally measured in years. Fang Yuan seemed to be easily deducing and modifying killer moves, the main reason was the light of wisdom, after all, rank 9 wisdom Gu was nothing to scoff at. There was also another important reason, that was his deep attainment level in all kinds of paths. The immortal Gu and immortal killer moves obtained from Xianxia greatly supplemented Fang Yuan's strength in terms of time path, he could be said to have made huge progress, like the eruption of a volcano. But Fang Yuan was facing a rather awkward issue. Spring and summer are both rank 8 immortal Gu, they can only be activated with rank 8 immortal essence. I am only a rank 7 Gu immortal, I don't even have the qualifications to refine them without using other methods. So I still need to advance my cultivation to rank 8. Then, not only can I use spring and summer, there is also wisdom sword immortal Gu. Fang Yuan started deducing matters regarding his advancement to rank 8. Several days later, his deduction was finished. Putting aside heavenly tribulations and earthly calamities, rank 7 needed to pass through 3 grand tribulations to advance to rank 8, and these 3 grand tribulations would get increasingly powerful. Fang Yuan was currently very close to the 3rd and final grand tribulation. The threat of the grand tribulation was not high to him. Even if heavens will strengthen it to the greatest limits, Fang Yuan already held firm initiative with his exposing heavenly secret killer move. What Fang Yuan was worried about was not the Grand Tribulation, but a possible human calamity. To face the Grand Tribulation, he must place his immortal aperture and connect to the outside world to absorb heaven and earth chi. At that time, Fang Yuan's location would be directly exposed to heaven's will, while also sharply increasing the difficulty in defending against others' deductions. Heavenly Court absolutely would not let go of this opportunity. They should already have some estimations of Fang Yuan's cultivation level. If Fang Yuan underwent the tribulation in southern border, when southern border's Gu immortals learn of the information, they would rush to kill Fang Yuan even if the captives were with him. Because if they got rid of Fang Yuan, they would have no more future trouble, and looking at the long term, the benefits they could gain would be even larger. Fang Yuan's dragonfish business was already obstructed by Heavenly Court, his income falling massively. This showed Spectral Soul was unable to hold on and Heavenly Court was making a lot of progress in soul searching him. As time passed, Heavenly Court would gain more information while Fang Yuan would be put into an increasingly passive situation as all kinds of methods in Spectral Soul's true inheritance continued to lower in value. At present, Heavenly Court is my main enemy. The crucial key in the fight against Heavenly Court is Fate Gu. If Heavenly Court completely restores Fate Gu, I will have no more chance at victory. If I can destroy it, I will be able to continue to fight with them. And the crucial key to destroying Fate Gu lies in Red Lotus' true inheritance. Fang Yuan had already deduced that it was very likely for Red Lotus' true inheritance to hold the method to destroy Fate Gu. And to inherit Red Lotus' true inheritance, I will have to fight in the River of Time. Whether I can break through Heavenly Court's defense line will depend on this third Grand Tribulation. If I can pass it, I will become rank 8, and will be able to use Spring, Summer, and Wisdom Sword Immortal Gu. My battle strength will soar rapidly. I will have a chance at the battle in the River of Time. If I can't pass it, it will be my death. Even if I survive by chance, the opportunity and timing will be lost. After I fall by one step, I will continue to fall behind continuously. Unless Heavenly Court makes a serious slip-up, they won't give me another chance to make a comeback. Fang Yuan's mind was cool as ice, well aware of his situation. The important thing now was to plan on how to pass the third Grand Tribulation and become a rank 8. In the following days, besides cultivating his soul-searching Xianxia, and managing his immortal aperture, Fang Yuan focused on exploring dream realms, practicing the new immortal killer moves as well as modifying the old killer moves. It was necessary to modify the old killer moves, especially his soul path killer moves which needed to be greatly improved. Otherwise, if the soul path killer moves were countered or restrained by Heavenly Court's Gu immortals, Fang Yuan would be in an extremely passive situation. As for practicing new killer moves, Fang Yuan was mainly practicing Xianxia's methods. He was only rank 7 currently, but Autumn Gu and Winter Gu were also only rank 7, he could practice their corresponding immortal killer moves. Normally, there were two main difficulties in practicing killer moves. One was the high chance of getting injured. But Fang Yuan had the sovereign immortal body which had non-conflicting Dao marks and also had man as before, so this was not difficult to overcome. Second was the expenditure of immortal essence. If immortal essence was expended quickly, immortal essence stones had to be refined into immortal essence. Fang Yuan was low on funds before, but he had a lot of businesses now, so he did not lack the capital. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know to report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 16:18, Do you believe in fate? Chapter 16:18, Do you believe in fate? Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Sovereign Immortal Aperture, an illusory dream realm. Fang Yuan entered the dream realm. Under the setting sun. Do you believe in fate? A human female immortal with skin as fair as snow, wearing a yellow robe, with arched eyebrows and a pair of beautiful eyes shrouded in mist, was looking sadly at the beautiful afterglow of the sun. Fang Yuan was a Rockman Gu immortal in this dream realm, but it was not under his control. The dream realm played by itself. The Reverend Gu immortal spoke in a low, muffled voice. I, 2G, cultivate rule path and naturally believe in fate. Fairy Roali, ever since I saw you, I knew you were my fated partner. You are the person that I will pursue for love over my entire life. Fairy Roali smiled slightly, her brows, however, furrowed a little. She looked at the Reverend Gu immortal standing beside her. You are right, we are fated to be an immortal couple. Ah, what? I. The Reverend Gu immortal was astonished before becoming exulted, as he shouted in disbelief, Fairy Roali, have you accepted me? Fairy Roali nodded her head gently. Oh heavens, oh heavens. Ha ha ha. I am not dreaming, right? Oh my heavens. 2G waved around his arms towards the sky and shouted, I finally succeeded after failing over 3,000 times. Ha ha ha. Fairy Roali, from today onwards, you are my wife. Yes, you are my husband. 2G's body trembled with excitement. The trembling was so intense that rock fragments began to fall from his body. Second scene. Roali was gently lying in 2G's arms, soft like a white feather. She looked at the sky where the clouds were moving across quickly. Her eyes were clear as water. 2G's eyes, however, were dazed. He had not shifted his gaze at all from Roali's face. He mumbled, it has already been 12 years, but I still feel like everything is a dream. Oh Roali, my wife, I swear I will love you and protect you. If you have any wish, tell me, I will do everything to satisfy you. Is that so? Roali asked softly. Of course. 2G replied without any hesitation. Roali's face showed a rare look of hesitation. After a long while, she said with some difficulty, then kill someone for me. Kill who? Even if it is a rank 8 existence, trust me, I will stake my life to kill them. 2G agreed readily and seriously. An infant who was just born. Roali smiled, her smile containing bitterness. 2G was stunned, an infant. Roali took a deep breath. Do you believe in fate? I cultivate rule path, I have to believe in the rules of this world. All things have their own ordained path, of which is fate. 2G replied. Roali continued, then I will tell you, this baby will become a future Gu venerable, called Reckless Savage. And in the future, I will definitely die at his hands. What? 2G was shocked. Roali, how many times have you checked this prophecy? Roali gave a bitter smile. Only once is enough, but I checked it many times indeed. Every result was the same. Do you know why a wisdom path Gu immortal's prophecy is so accurate? That is because fate is always fixed. I will die at Reckless Savage's hands, that is my fate. 2G's mouth became dry as waves surged and ebbed in his heart. But shortly, soaring killing intent suddenly surged out of his body as he stood up, then I shall kill him. Although this is fate. I don't believe that I, the Grand 2G, a rank 8 Gu immortal, can't kill an infant. Feng Yuan's soul foundation continued to fall as the third scene started. 2G was heavily injured when he appeared in front of Fairy Roali. His lips shook and his expression was ashamed as well as shocked. Fairy Roali smiled, I know, you encountered your fated enemy on the way there, and he just happened to have made a breakthrough. 2G was surprised, you deduced it. Fairy Roali nodded, the moment you got attacked, I deduced it. 2G was dazed, he hesitated for a moment but still asked, then, Roali, since you already deduced it, why didn't you come to help me? If we, husband and wife, joined hands, we could have definitely killed that scumbag. Roali shook her head, you still don't understand. This is fate's arrangement. If I didn't tell you my deductions, you would not have gone to kill that infant. If you didn't go to kill that infant, you would not have encountered your old enemy. Anyone who tries to change fate will be met with fate's punishment. Your injuries are the punishment now. If I had gone to help you, another obstruction would have appeared. 2G blinked his eyes several times before saying in joy, so it was like that. That's good, your decision was correct. I won't let you get injured, I would rather be torn apart than see even a hair of yours get damaged. Roali gave a bitter smile as she looked at 2G, you understand the power of fate now? You don't need to try anymore, stay with me and quietly accompany me in my final moments. I believe I will be blessed with you by my side. No. 2G's body shook as he said resolutely, absolutely not. I won't stand by and watch this happen, I won't let you die. I promise to love you and protect you with my life. But my death is fate's arrangement. Oh 2G, my husband, you said it yourself, that you believe in fate. Roali said meaningfully. Then I will stop believing in it. At first, 2G struggled and hesitated, but when he finally said it, he could not restrain his roar, his anger soared to the skies. Fourth scene. 2G went to look for that infant once again, but an earthly calamity suddenly appeared, there was a landslide, villagers ran everywhere, the infant also disappeared. 2G could only kill some mortals, but he ran into several righteous path immortals. After a huge battle, 2G killed a few of them, but he ended up becoming a major wanted criminal by the human Gu immortals. Fifth scene. Several years later, the tribulation was strange and of unsurpassed strength, 2G almost died undergoing the tribulation. When he was lying in the bed, unable to move, he heard that Roali had finally deduced the specific location of that infant. I will go kill him. 2G struggled to stand up, but when he had just walked a few steps, he fell unconscious. When he woke up, he saw Fairy Roali had lost lifespan, her hair had turned completely white, he sobbed, it is all my fault, Roali, you went through such painstaking efforts and finally deduced it after several years of closed cultivation, if not for my inability. Fairy Roali smiled warmly, consoling, no problem, I can deduce it again. Sixth scene. They encountered a beast tide. Seventh scene. Fairy Roali's deduction failed, suffering backlash, her youth was spent and she became an old lady. She rested in 2G's embrace, smiling bitterly, look at what I have become, I must look pathetic, right? 2G gently stroked her hair, his gaze still containing deep love, no matter what you look like, you will still be my beloved Fairy Roali. This special dream realm continued, Fang Yuan could only observe from the start. Regardless of how 2G and Roali chased, all their attempts were met with failure. One time, he captured the infant, but the baby escaped by some unexpected mishap. 3 times, he caught up to the infant, but whenever he tried to make the fatal attack, by some strange factors and coincidences, the baby was able to escape. That infant was gradually growing up, becoming a Gu immortal. The situation moved firmly along the path decided by fate, finally nearing the day of Fairy Roali's death. 2G became increasingly tense, he knew the most crucial time had arrived. He planned every day and cultivated bitterly, using anything that could increase his strength no matter what the risks were. On the contrary, Fairy Roali had loosened up, she no longer deduced ceaselessly. She persuaded 2G not to risk his life. 2G did not listen, getting more anxious. Sometimes, she would accompany 2G, lying in his arms, then look at him warmly for a long time as if she could not savor it enough. Finally, the 8th scene. The fatal attack was blocked by 2G with his body, he even counterattacked, forcing back that great enemy. 2G was on the verge of death, he fell in Fairy Roali's arms, saying joyfully, we finally won against fate. Roali, my wife. I did it, I really did it, cough cough cough. He wanted to shout and cheer in joy, but he was too weak and coughed incessantly. He knew he was no doubt going to die and did not have much time. Using this final period of time, he grabbed Fairy Roali's hand with difficulty, looking at her with incomparably deep love as he said in a solemn tone, after I die, you must continue to live on, live well. Clear crystal-like tears flowed down Fairy Roali's eyes, sliding down her face. She tightly embraced 2G, whispering in his ear, do you know? Although I cultivate wisdom path, I don't believe in fate. I had deduced fate's arrangement for me, but who would want to die? So I looked for you, actually, our marriage was not even part of the arrangements of fate. I did not love you and only wanted to use you. 2G smiled, responding in an extremely faint voice, I knew that, but so what? I love you. I am happy and fully willing to be used by you. Thank you for giving me an opportunity to be used by you. I had once believed in fate, but I don't anymore. Look, you are still alive, fate has already been changed, this is wonderful. 2G was no longer able to lift his heavy eyelids as they closed slowly, he no longer responded. Fairy Ruali wept loudly, she had never lost her composure like this before in her life, she repeatedly shook her head and sobbed, I did not used to believe in fate, but now I do. Her whole body started to let out a pure white light that slowly entered the Rockman Gu immortal 2G's body. 2G's aura gradually began to recover from its weak state, while Fairy Ruali's body became increasingly frail and illusory. The Rockman Gu immortal opened his eyes once again. When he saw what was happening, he shouted in shock and panic, no, stop, I don't want to be healed. You will die, you will die. Unfortunately, he did not have any strength left and was unable to stop it. Fairy Ruali's figure had already become illusory, she revealed a smile, saying with incomparable warmth and a trace of craftiness, you are aware of it, my killer move cannot be stopped once it is activated. I want to say one final thing to you, the thing you wanted to hear the most. You silly rock. I love you. Once she said that, Fairy Ruali faded like an illusion, vanishing from the world. No. No. 2G roared like an injured beast filled with anger and sorrow, he was powerlessness and in pain. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1619, I do not believe. Chapter 1619, I do not believe. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Gorgeous lights slowly dissipated from the stone room. Feng Jin Huang took a deep breath, staring forward without blinking, with her sharp eyes flickering with light. A cocoon-like lump of light, the size of a millstone, was quietly floating in front of her. The final step. Feng Jin Huang took another deep breath, suddenly pinching all her fingers. Her 10 fingers then opened like blossoming flowers, endless bright lights flickering from them, shining upon the whole stone room. Feng Jin Huang's movement was so skilled even refinement path grandmasters would show a solemn expression. Feng Jin Huang was already a refinement path great grandmaster, it was not strange for her to have such exquisite Gu techniques. What Feng Jin Huang was using was a dual metal and fire path refinement technique, she had found this method to be the most suitable for her. Boom! After a while, a loud sound erupted, the cocoon, however, did not explode and was instead rapidly shrinking. The pure white cocoon surface gradually turned into dark blue color, while the cocoon gradually turned firmer with some metallic luster. I finally succeeded after failing many times. Feng Jin Huang's eyes flashed with joy. Her mind was calm the whole time, she was already starting to display the demeanor of a refinement path great expert. The rank 5 Gu worm was refined, but it still needed to be processed with proper technique. Feng Jin Huang opened her mouth, carefully breathing out wisps of cold air. As the cold air blew on it, the blue cocoon slightly trembled and let out a buzzing noise. Large amounts of hot air rose up from the cocoon, filling the whole stone room with hot fog. Using dual metal and fire path refinement techniques created such a residual effect, the temperature of the Gu worm would become too high and if it was not cooled down in time, it might not die, but it would be severely injured and difficult to use. Gu refinement was an extremely deep and broad subject with countless techniques. Any Gu refinement technique had its advantages and disadvantages. If an ice refinement method was used to refine this Gu worm, the residual effect could not be treated with cold air, the Gu had to be nourished in warm water for some time. Feng Jin Huang stopped her techniques and slowly stood up from the cushion. The rank 5 Gu floated to her hand, she tested it carefully, her solemn expression bloomed like flowers as she let out a dazzling smile. She left the secret room and walked out of the cavern. The moment she opened the door, the huge rumbling noise of a waterfall, the sounds of birds, and the rustling of tree leaves entered her ears. Outside of the extremely quiet secret room, the world had once again sprouted to life. The verdant green mountains, birds singing, fragrance of the flowers, the bright sunlight, everything was tranquil and beautiful. Feng Jin Huang looked around and saw Duke Long sitting quietly on a giant rock beside a pool. The lights from the mountain delighted the birds, the shadows on the pool set the heart at ease. Master, master, take a look. I refined this dream pillow Gu. Feng Jin Huang ran over to Duke Long while holding the newly refined rank 5 Gu and spoke with a dazzling smile. Duke Long slowly opened his eyes and took a glance at Dream Pillow Gu. He nodded his head slightly and said in a mild voice, "Not bad, not bad." Feng Jin Huang slightly pouted, "How can it only be not bad? Master, you don't know how many times I failed in refining this Gu worm before succeeding this once. With this Dream Pillow Gu, mortal Gu masters can enter dream realms if they sleep while laying their heads on it. It will be an enormous help to my spirit affinity house and the whole of Central Continent." Ever since Feng Jin Huang took Duke Long as her master, she had devoted herself to cultivating. Duke Long did not instruct her in cultivation, but taught her of the situation of the whole world and his experiences, expanding her vision and knowledge. With Duke Long's meticulous teaching, Feng Jin Huang was no longer the same as before. She now had a strategic vision and considered issues in terms of the overall view. Feng Jin Huang's Dream Pillow Gu seemed ordinary, but because it was a mortal Gu, it could be used by most Gu masters. As long as this Gu was mass-produced, Central Continent's Gu masters could easily enter their own dream realms and extract Dream Path Gu materials from them, gaining an early advantage in the Great Era. This Gu was able to raise a whole region's strategic dominance. Its significance was beyond ordinary. Duke Long, however, showed no surprise. "It is only natural for you to have such accomplishments. Huang Heir, you are the future Great Dream Immortal Venerable." Before Duke Long finished speaking, Feng Jin Huang interrupted with a trace of discontent. All right, you are saying this again. Are you saying that I obtained all these accomplishments only because I am the future Great Dream Immortal Venerable?" Duke Long chuckled as he looked at Feng Jin Huang, suddenly changing the topic. "Huang Heir, do you believe in fate?" Feng Jin Huang's brows furrowed. "Master, are you talking about Fate Gu?" Duke Long nodded. "Right, it is the Fate Gu recorded in the Legends of Renzu, and also the Fate Gu that Heavenly Court is about to restore completely." The Legends of Renzu stated that Renzu had spent enormous energy and effort to gather Gu materials, even sacrificing his own 2 hands to finally refine Wealth Gu. He brought his son, Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance, and daughter, Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence, to the Feathermen's residence. But strangely, all the Feathermen had disappeared with no traces left. "What's going on?" Renzu was puzzled. "That is because I arrived here. Those Feathermen are afraid of me, all of them ran away." A black and white spider walked towards Renzu leisurely. "Who are you?" Renzu asked. The spider smiled. "Human, you have walked through the road I created in the door of life and death, you still don't know who I am? I am Fate Gu." Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence added, "Fate Gu, you are not even the size of my palm, why would those Feathermen fear you?" Fate Gu chuckled, "Because they pursue freedom, but I, Fate, bind and restrict them." Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance grumbled, "So your intention was the same as us. You are really a failure, not capturing even one Featherman, while hindering us as well." Fate Gu laughed loudly. "Who said I failed? The Feathermen are pursuing freedom, but what do they know? Their escape is only on the superficial level. I have already bound them. The road towards their freedom was all arranged by me, but they think they succeeded, not knowing anything. You are also the same, look at yourselves." Renzu, Blazing Glory Lightning Brilliance, and Myriad Gold Wondrous Essence looked at their bodies. They discovered that white spider silk had stuck to their limbs and body for some unknown time. They also discovered that not just themselves, even the surrounding flowers, grass, trees, rocks, water, everything was bound by the spider silk. These spider silk gathered together to form into a spider web which spread out endlessly in the sight of Renzu and his children. This is the web that I weaved, it is called all-encompassing web. Everything in the world is bound by this web, to be arranged and controlled by me, fate. Everyone you encountered and all the things that have happened are all controlled by me. Fate Gu said. Renzu and his children felt a chill in their hearts and began to struggle fiercely. Fate Gu smiled, it is useless, you cannot escape. Fate cannot be altered. Renzu glared at Fate Gu furiously, "Oh Fate, why do you have to manipulate and toy with us? From what you said, all the hardships and misfortunes I encountered were all your doings. The loss of my children was also due to you." Fate Gu said calmly, "Human, I know you want to save your eldest son verdant great son, but he is already dead. Death is a necessary fate of humans, you simply cannot save him. Moreover, you want to rely on wealth Gu to save your daughter boundless forest samsara, that is also impossible." As fate willed, a thread of spider silk bound Renzu's wealth Gu and dragged it in front of Fate Gu. "Release it, that is our Gu worm." Blazing glory lightning brilliance shouted. Myriad gold wondrous essence's eyes reddened, sobbing, "Father sacrificed his own hands to painstakingly refine this wealth Gu. How dare you take it away?" Renzu struggled fiercely, but the spider's silk continued to become tighter, firmly binding them. Fate Gu laughed loudly, "Life and death is decreed by fate, prosperity is up to heaven. Human, you are fated to be poor and menial, tormented and humiliated till you become insane, and in the end, you will also die. Although you refined wealth Gu, you don't have the fate to enjoy it. If you are fated to be poor, even if you dug out gold, it will turn to copper. If you are fated to be rich, even if you pick up paper, it will turn to silk. All these things are under my control." Renzu, blazing glory lightning brilliance, and myriad gold wondrous essence started cursing Fate Gu furiously. Fate Gu was not the least bit angry, still carefree and at leisure. "Many have cursed me, but so what? Humans, no matter how you curse me, it won't change anything." Fate Gu suddenly moved the spider silk, throwing blazing glory lightning brilliance and myriad gold wondrous essence far away, completely out of Renzu's sight. "My children!" Renzu howled. Fate Gu said darkly, "Human, don't blame me, this is your fate. Not just you, loneliness is the fate of every person. Even if they are your own children, they will not accompany you for life and will eventually leave you. Every encounter is temporary, separation is normality." Renzu, however, kept on struggling, but the more he struggled, the tighter the spider's silk bound him. Renzu felt an increasingly enormous pressure pushing him down to the point of suffocation. He panted heavily, he gradually lost the strength to struggle. Renzu started crying, tears rolling down his cheeks. "Why does my fate have to be so pitiful?" Fate Gu was silent. But at this time, a voice emerged from the depths of Renzu's heart. The voice belonged to Self Gu, "Human, believe in your own strength rather than blaming your fate." Renzu stopped crying as he suddenly realized, "Right, although I don't have strength Gu, Self Gu has taken a bite of strength Gu, I have my own strength now. Self Gu, I can only rely on you." Self Gu then erupted with a dazzling light as it attempted to break the spider silk. Some spider silk was torn, but even more came to bind Renzu. "My own strength is not enough." Renzu was anxious. "Right, Self Gu, you have also taken a bite of love Gu. If strength does not work, let us rely on love instead." Thereupon, Self Gu let out a gentle light as it attempted to break the spider silk, but this also failed. Fate Gu said, "Oh human, why can't you understand? Love is a type of fate. I arranged it to make verdant great sun fall in love with desolate ancient moon. I also arranged it to make the rockman fall in love with desolate ancient moon. I also arranged success and failure in their lives, so they eventually ended up dead." "No. No!" Renzu screamed and bawled. Fate Gu listened quietly. Renzu gradually lost the strength to cry. He mumbled powerlessly, "I understand now, I know why the feathermen pursue freedom." Fate Gu smiled, "Human, you also want to pursue freedom?" Renzu nodded, "Yes, if I have freedom, I will no longer be bound by you." Fate Gu, but look at those feather men, even though they pursue freedom, aren't they still under my control? Renzu shook his head, my freedom is different from them. I will pursue absolute freedom. Fate Gu laughed loudly, a person's absolute freedom is insanity. O human, see for yourself, you are seeking freedom but you are actually moving towards insanity. I already said this earlier, you will lose your mind. That is the road I arranged for you, you cannot escape my control. No. I don't believe you. I will use my own strength and wisdom to obtain freedom. I don't believe your words, I will escape your control. Renzu retorted. Fate Gu's laughter became louder, O human, you are truly going crazy, you are already deranged. Did you forget? Your self Gu has only taken a bite of strength Gu and love Gu, so you only have your own strength and love, but not your own wisdom. O human, when you think you are intelligent, it will be the sign that you are going crazy. Ha ha ha, ha ha ha. It was Renzu's turn to laugh, I don't believe you, O Fate Gu, I don't believe you. I don't believe that this world has fate. Fate Gu was silent for a moment before saying, even if you don't believe it, I will still exist. Renzu rebuked, no, that is not true. When I stop believing in you, you will stop existing. I refuse to believe in fate, fate does not exist. Ha ha ha. Fate Gu shook its head, sighing, truly pitiful, O human, you have already fallen into insanity. Renzu scratched his hair and skin, his tears and mucus mixed together, he struggled, he knelt on the ground as he rolled around. It was like how fate declared, he had become insane. Time flew by rapidly as a scene of the past suddenly appeared in Duke Long's mind. 1,000,000 years ago. Do you believe in fate? Duke Long was standing and looking at his disciple warmly. His disciple was only a youngster with a glossy forehead, handsome appearance, and bright eyes. He had long black hair that reached his waist, there was a lifelike red lotus birthmark on his forehead. Duke Long continued, Red Lotus, you are the future immortal venerable, you will definitely lead us humans towards the greatest prosperity and glory. You will certainly succeed, creating your own Gu worms and techniques, you will become the pride of your parents, become invincible in the world, and your name shall be marked in history. You will join heavenly court, become the leader of humanity, and bring blessings to all beings, your glory will shine throughout time and space. Young Red Lotus blinked his eyes before smiling, exposing his dazzling teeth, there does not seem to be anything bad with this. I believe in fate. Duke Long returned to reality after the slight trance. He looked at Feng Jin Huang and said solemnly, Huang heir, you need to understand that you are the future great dream immortal venerable who will surpass all the past venerables. You will create dream path and be invincible in the whole world. Your glory will shine and spread for ages, becoming the eternal symbol and support of humanity. Don't fear, don't hesitate, take each success to press forward indomitably until you reach the supreme peak of this world. Feng Jin Huang's eyes got brighter and brighter as she listened. She smiled with unparalleled beauty. Duke Long also smiled. Feng Jin Huang said, if all this is predestined by fate, then I do not believe in fate. What? Duke Long's smile froze on his face. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 1620, Southern Alliance. Chapter 1620, Southern Alliance. Translator. Atlas Studios. Editor. Atlas Studios. Heavenly Court. The large formation let out buzzing noises as glaring light pierced deep into Spectral Soul's body like sharp needles. Despite him curling up and defending with all his strength, he was still hard-pressed to resist the formation's power. Fairy Z-Wei was concentrating fully on controlling the large formation while also absorbing all kinds of information extracted from Spectral Soul. Only when the formation let out breaking noises did Fairy Z-Wei stop while feeling unsatisfied. She gave a deep glance at Spectral Soul. Even if they were enemies, Fairy Z-Wei could not help but admire Spectral Soul's tenacity. He was clearly in a desperate situation with no trace of hope, but he was still resisting to the end. He was indeed worthy of being an invincible Gu venerable. Fairy Ziwei left without saying anything. Returning to her hall, she immediately began to concentrate on deducing. The use of star constellation chessboard pushed her deduction ability to the peak of the world. Countless thoughts emerged and faded in her mind like the flickering of countless stars. Her thoughts constantly collided with each other, even flying out of the body, turning into countless purple light specks that covered Fairy Ziwei's body before spreading to fill the whole vast hall. A long while later, the purple thoughts gradually drew in, dissipated and finally calmed. Fairy Ziwei took a deep breath, stopping her methods as she slowly opened her eyes. A layer of thin sweat had formed on her forehead, her brows were furrowed into a tight knot and she looked mentally exhausted. Fang Yuan, where in the world are you going to undergo tribulation? Fairy Ziwei muttered. She had been working hard, repeatedly extracting various internal details of Shadow Sect from Spectral Soul. She was especially interested in Shadow Sect's arrangements left in the 5 regions. Because Fang Yuan had used Shadow Sect's arrangement to capture the pursuing team of Southern Border Righteous Path in one go. If Fang Yuan was to undergo tribulation, he was very likely to once again rely on these arrangements. It would make no sense for him to not borrow this help. Fairy Ziwei had been closely paying attention to Fang Yuan's cultivation progress. After the battle in Langya Blessed Land, she clearly deduced Fang Yuan was not far from rank 8. Rank 7 and rank 8 were 2 completely different levels. In the absence of rank 9, rank 8s were the peak of the world. Once Fang Yuan advances to rank 8, he would truly become difficult to suppress, and would become an enormous obstacle for Heavenly Court. Fang Yuan's final grand tribulation is the crucial point. If we can kill him here, it would be greatly beneficial to Heavenly Court and people all over the world. Fairy Ziwei was not going to let go of any chance to kill Fang Yuan, but she found this matter was extremely troubling. Because she could not tell the specific time and location of Fang Yuan's tribulation for sure. Fang Yuan possessed Emperor Yama, which had strong defensive properties, not giving her any chance to make deductions against him. Fang Yuan also had plentiful time path methods to alter the rate of time in the immortal aperture, so it could not be estimated when he was going to undergo the final grand tribulation. Fang Yuan also had fixed immortal travel and could undergo his tribulation anywhere in the world. How could Fairy Ziwei make arrangements like this? The most she could do was rule out Black Heaven and White Heaven. Because a blessed land would absorb a slightly higher amount of earth chi when undergoing tribulation, so it was usually done in the 5 regions. Naturally, the possibility of undergoing tribulation in Black or White Heaven was small but not zero. There were several areas which were special and had abundant earth chi. But what about the 5 regions? The River of Time was only a secluded domain of heaven and earth, so Fairy Ziwei could arrange immortal Gu houses in it and guard it heavily. But when it came to the huge area of the 5 regions, even thousands of immortal Gu houses would not be enough. Let alone when Heavenly Court did not have enough manpower to assign to every area of 5 regions to interfere with Fang Yuan's tribulation. Fairy Ziwei heaved a sigh, she did not have any good solutions. The plan now was to use all her strength to extract valuable clues from Spectral Soul and use them to deduce the possible locations where Fang Yuan could undergo tribulation. Meanwhile, she would actively contact the Righteous Path forces of 5 regions and release the news of Fang Yuan undergoing tribulation. Heavenly Court did not have control over the other 4 regions and was only able to borrow their strength. The news that Fang Yuan was about to undergo tribulation quickly spread throughout the 5 regions. Not only the Righteous Path clans and sects, even demonic and lone immortals heard about it. Currently, Fang Yuan was already renowned throughout the 5 regions. Although he only had rank 7 cultivation, his battle accomplishments were so amazing that he was already recognized as the number 1 person below rank 8. The Gu immortal world acknowledged that even Feng Jiu Gu was inferior to him. He was the strongest new star of the demonic path in the last 100 years. His growth was so shockingly fast that when the Gu immortal world reacted, he had already become a demonic path overlord. So the news of Fang Yuan undergoing tribulation quickly created a heated discussion in the Gu immortal world of the 5 regions. If this demon passes the final grand tribulation, he will become a rank 8 Gu immortal. How can we ignore this? Demons are rising while the righteous path is weakening. What else can we do? This person is extraordinary. He possesses spring-autumn cicada, is someone who has been reborn, and also has obtained the inheritances of multiple venerables. A grand tribulation cannot stop him. I have a different opinion. As the saying goes, one who commits many injustices is doomed to failure. This demon is too arrogant. He wants to undergo tribulation, but he has to first see if heavenly court or the entire world's righteous path are allowing it or not. Some were optimistic about Fang Yuan while some were pessimistic. But, one point was clear, the absolute majority of the Gu immortals did not want to see Fang Yuan succeed in his tribulation. This demon brought chaos to the world when he was just rank 6 and even more disaster when he is rank 7. Would he topple the world if he advances to rank 8? I don't care if Fang Yuan undergoes tribulation in other places. But if he undergoes tribulation in southern border, my Tai clan will not allow it. While the Gu immortal world was in fervent discussions, southern border's righteous path forces were also actively holding meetings or frequently contacting each other to discuss about how to deal with Fang Yuan. Despite there still being hostages in Fang Yuan's hands, if they were able to take this chance to eradicate this disaster, southern border's righteous path forces would be more than happy. The reason was simple: benefits. Ignoring Fang Yuan and letting him grow stronger meant he would increasingly become a bigger threat and shroud over southern border's righteous path, like a dark cloud. There might even be a day where one of them might face a calamity under his hands. More importantly, Fang Yuan had an extremely huge amount of immortal Gu recipes, inheritances, and all kinds of cultivation resources. He was simply a moving treasure trove. They might be able to obtain enormous benefits by killing him. Even if his immortal aperture was destroyed, as long as a fragment of his soul remains, these righteous path forces could soul search and might obtain some venerable's incomplete inheritance. Just this alone was enough for these righteous path forces to go after him like a flock of cranes. Wu Yong said in a heavy voice, "The headquarters of Shadow Sect are in southern border. There are bound to be many arrangements put in place here." Previously, Fang Yuan used one of the arrangements to capture many immortals. There is a high probability of Fang Yuan undergoing tribulation in southern border. Prior to saying this, Wu Yong had secretly received information from Fairy Ziwei and knew of several arrangements Shadow Sect had put in southern border. Wu Yong was fully aware Fairy Ziwei was making use of him to deal with Fang Yuan. But Wu Yong was willing to be used. Because Fang Yuan had heavily toyed with him by disguising as Wu Yihai, Fang Yuan being alive was the greatest disgrace to the whole of Wu clan and him, Wu Yong. Lord Wu Yong's analysis is sound. Xiao clan Gu immortal immediately added, Fang Yuan captured Gu immortals from every clan. He is also an inheritor of Shadow Sect, the current sect leader. He definitely has powerful soul path methods. After soul searching the captives, he will be clear of the situation of our southern border righteous path. Moreover, our southern border has been through all kinds of large changes in these recent years, be they lone or demonic immortals. They have all suffered severe losses, especially our righteous path. If that demon undergoes tribulation here, he will face the least obstruction. Even if Fang Yuan undergoes tribulation in southern border, how can we keep a lookout? Southern border is so large, he could very well undergo tribulation in some corner. How would we know? A Gu immortal asked. We can know it by investigating. Xia clan Gu immortal replied, once he places his immortal aperture and connects to the world, he has to maintain this state till he finishes the tribulation. He will no longer be hidden in this period of time, and we will be able to trace him. Even without others' help, our Xia clan's wisdom path Gu immortals will be able to deduce his specific location with the help of our formation. Of course, if there are many wisdom path Gu immortals helping us, we will have even more certainty in deducing Fang Yuan's location, and also much more quickly. Another Xia clan Gu immortal continued, the true difficulty is not in deducing his location but how we can reach there in time. There is also a premise here that we must have gathered a considerable number of Gu immortals to deal with Fang Yuan. Southern border's Gu immortals fell into silence. Since ancient times, the southern border righteous path forces were numerous and divided, no one submitting to others. And to eliminate Fang Yuan, these southern border forces had to work with full cooperation and unity. This could be considered an unprecedented event. Fang Yuan was currently able to fight rank 8, but he was one person in the end. Any single super clan of the righteous path could make sure Fang Yuan had more trouble than he could handle during the tribulation, causing him to fail his tribulation and even die. Because these righteous path forces either possessed rank 8 Gu immortal or had immortal Gu houses that could fight rank 8. Most of them had managed their territories and resources for thousands of years or even tens of thousands of years, so they had incomparably robust foundation. In contrast, Fang Yuan had developed for a considerably shorter time. But was it possible for one super clan to use all their strength against Fang Yuan? Impossible. This was a jungle. Every righteous path clan was a fierce beast who ruled over a territory. If this fierce beast left its territory to attack another fierce beast, even if the latter was not fully developed, it would still have claws and fangs. This risk was too large. Even if it killed the other, the fierce beast could very likely be injured, and if its injuries were too severe, other fierce beasts would be attracted to invade. Of course, the invasion would be under the cover of justice. They would find all sorts of excuses. With so many conflicts between southern border righteous path forces over the years, would they be worried about not finding an excuse? Even if they really had no excuse, they could offer to help. For instance, take the initiative to help for the prosperity of southern border. Look at how passionate I am to help you. Do you dare to refuse? Do you have the strength to refuse? So, the true difficulty in dealing with Fang Yuan did not lie in Fang Yuan himself. Was Fang Yuan strong? Indeed, being able to fight rank 8 with rank 7 cultivation was extremely rare even in history. But what if he was compared to a super force? Fang Yuan was not strong, he could not compare to a group strength. After continuous conflicts, Fang Yuan would start bleeding. Some southern border Gu immortals could only smile bitterly because they knew the current situation was ironic. The ones binding them were themselves. They were wary of each other and kept each other in check. They divided their forces to guard their large territories to defend against each other. The silence lasted a long while, until a Tai clan Gu immortal suddenly spoke. Actually, there is a way to resolve a portion of this issue. Everyone knows of the immortal Gu house beacon tower of my Tai clan. Southern border Gu immortals maintained their silence, but it did not last long when another voice spoke. I agree with Tai clan in building beacon towers. Everyone was shocked, because this person was none other than Wu clan's first supreme elder Wu Yong. Even that rank 6 Tai clan Gu immortal who had spoken just now was surprised. Wu Yong actually supported Tai clan in building beacon tower. While everyone was still in shock, Wu Yong spoke again. His voice was low and deep, his every word landing in the immortals' minds like a giant rock. He said, "It is time to make a change. Have you still not realized? The wave of the Great Era is already upon us, the 5 regions' regional walls have also started to thin. If we don't start changing now, we will be submerged by this wave of the new era." The immortals fell into silence. Another person stood up. He was Ba clan's first supreme elder who had always wanted to seize the #1 position from Wu clan. He rarely spoke and thus startled everyone. My Ba clan supports Wu Yong. We need to look ahead. Central continent has heavenly court, northern plains has longevity heaven. What does our southern border have? He paused for a moment before making a logical point. We have many forces, but every force is independent. We will be taken down by the other regions eventually. So I support Wu Yong and also agree to Tai clan building beacon towers. Not long after him, Qi clan's first supreme elder Qi Chuyu expressed his support. Then, Luo clan, Ho clan, Chai clan, and so on also expressed their strong intent to unite. Southern Border's immortals suddenly realized that this event was of an extreme importance and would be recorded in the history of Southern Border. Never had such a situation appeared where Southern Border's righteous path forces joined hands. This was not just a superficial proclamation, but a true close cooperation. The atmosphere was heated like never before. Waves rose in Southern Border Gu immortals' minds as they felt an excitement at participating in a historical moment. Let Fang Yuan be the first sacrificial offering to our Southern Alliance, then, the other 4 regions. Wu Yong did not conceal his ambitions. If you find any errors, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know. Report chapter so we can fix it as soon as possible.